Chapter 2267. Indeed. At that time, I also rushed over immediately, but I reckon that Qin Feiyang was also afraid of being caught by us. By the time I arrived, only the corpses of those divine dragons were left. The vice pavilion master also nodded. The corpses of 10 divine dragons, the black-robed old man muttered and asked, where are their corpses? The central square of Sky Dragon City, but, the vice pavilion master looked a little hesitant. Speak. The black-robed old man said. This, Lord, you have to promise us that you won't kill us. The vice pavilion master said. You still dare to negotiate with me? The black-robed old man's eyes turned cold. No, no, no. We are afraid that you will be angry, so we dare not say it. The vice pavilion master quickly waved his hand. The great elder also had a look of panic. The black-robed old man glanced at the two and nodded, all right, I will spare your lives. Thank you, Lord. I heard that the bodies of those 10 divine dragons were divided by someone. The vice pavilion master said. What? The black-robed old man's body suddenly emitted a monstrous killing intent. Lord, please calm down. The vice pavilion master and great elder hurriedly called out. Regarding this, the two did not lie to the black-robed old man. Last time. After Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi killed more than 20 divine dragons in the Sky Dragon Sea, they sent the corpses to Sky Dragon City for everyone to divide. After tasting this sweetness, everyone yearned for the dragon meat. Therefore, when the great elder disguised himself as Qin Feiyang and sent the 10 divine dragons to Sky Dragon City, the people of Sky Dragon City immediately swarmed over to snatch the dragon meat. In just a short while, the 10 divine dragons had been cleanly divided among the people. The black-robed old man took a deep breath and asked, what kind of divine dragons are they? It seems to be 2 black dragons, 2 water dragons, and 3 fire dragon, 3 earth dragon. Yes, that's it. The great elder and the vice pavilion master recalled as they spoke. After the black-robed old man finished listening, the killing intent in his eyes surged again. The vice pavilion master asked cautiously, Lord, the 10 young talents of the dragons you mentioned, could it be them? Yes. It's them. The black-robed old man enunciated each word clearly. This, the 2 vice pavilion masters looked at each other. I'm sorry, my lord. We didn't know their identities. We thought they were just ordinary mystical dragons. If we had known that they were the young talents of the dragons, we would have definitely protected their corpses. We really deserve to die 10,000 deaths. Please forgive us, sir. The 2 of them roared in horror. Shut up. The black-robed old man shouted angrily. The 2 of them immediately shut their mouths, not even daring to breathe. But in his heart, he was laughing. The angrier the black-robed old man appeared, the more pleasure they felt in their hearts. Especially the great elder. Now, they couldn't wait to set off firecrackers to celebrate. The black-robed old man's face sank. Suddenly, he looked down at the coast. On the shore, there was a huge rock. The 3 lines of words on it were extremely eye-catching. Dragons are dogs. Eastern Tomb, Western Desert, and Southern Wasteland. Written by Qin Feiyang. The black-robed old man flashed and landed in front of the huge rock. Looking at the words on it, his hands clenched tightly, making cracking sounds. The great elder and the vice pavilion masters looked at each other and also landed beside the black-robed old man. They pretended to be curious and looked at the huge rock. This, the great elder's face suddenly changed. My lord, please don't be angry. I will immediately destroy this rock. Saying so, he threw a punch at the huge rock. Back off. The black-robed old man shouted. My lord, the great elder's body stiffened and turned to look at the black-robed old man. This lord is very angry. But this rock cannot be destroyed. Because this lord will use this rock to kill him. The black-robed old man waved his sleeves. An invisible force surged out and rushed towards the huge rock. Following closely, a magical scene appeared. The huge rock quickly shrank and finally became the size of a palm. It rose into the air and disappeared into the black-robed old man's chi sea. This Qin Feiyang really deserves to die. Our treasure pavilion and ninth heaven palace are both looking for him. But I have to admit that he is really a difficult character to deal with. Every time he appears and disappears mysteriously. The vice pavilion master sighed. As long as he is in the ancient world, he will not be able to escape from the hands of the dragons. The black-robed old man said word by word. His killing intent was overwhelming. And because he saw the words on the huge rock, he completely believed the vice pavilion master and the great elder's words. He asked, "Who cut up their corpses?" "We are not sure. We were not present at that time." The two shook their heads. The black-robed old man said, "Then slaughter Sky Dragon City." "My lord, you must not. They did not know that the 10 divine dragons belonged to you dragons. If they knew, even if you gave them 100 guts, they would not dare to do it. My lord, there are so many people in Sky Dragon City. If we kill them all, it will be too cruel." When the two heard this, they immediately trembled and hurriedly cried out. They never thought that the black-robed old man would be so crazy to think of slaughtering the city. If they did not stop him, they would become the sinners of the North region. The vice pavilion master was slightly better. After all, he did not participate and only knew about it. The great elder was different. He participated in the entire process. There was also Shengguan Fenglan. This idea was Shengguan Fenglan's. Therefore, something like slaughtering the city must not happen. Otherwise, they would not be able to atone for their sins even if they died. A group of lowly creatures dare to eat the people of the dragons. Even if they do not know, they will not be forgiven. The black-robed old man said sternly. The great elder said, "My lord, they are only a small portion of the people in Sky Dragon City. The majority of the people are innocent." "All right. Now go and find that small portion of people. If you can't find them, I will kill you," the black-robed old man said. The great elder took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "If killing me can save Sky Dragon City from being slaughtered, I am willing to accept my death." The black-robed old man was surprised. He looked at the great elder and said, "I did not know that you have such a kind side." The great elder sighed, "There are so many people in Sky Dragon City. There are also countless women and children. Anyone with a little conscience will not sit by and do nothing." The black-robed old man's eyes turned cold and said, "Listening to your words, are you saying that I have no conscience?" "No, no, no. Even if I have the guts, I would not dare to think like that. I just could not help but sigh. I did not mean to scold you at all." The great elder quickly waved his hand. "Humph." The black-robed old man snorted. He looked at the great elder and the vice pavilion master and sneered, "No matter what you say, you cannot change my decision. Today, the city must be slaughtered." The great elder and the vice pavilion master's heart sank. Swoosh. But at this moment, a woman in a light purple dress broke through the air like lightning. It was Shengguan Fenglan. The great elder's face changed. He secretly said, "What are you doing here?" Shengguan Fenglan was about to speak, but when she saw the black-robed old man, her eyes were filled with intense hatred. "Go back. This beast wants to massacre the city. This old man is already prepared to fight him to the death. In the future, the 9 Heavens Palace will be handed over to you. You must manage it well. Don't let down this old man's expectations of you." The great elder secretly said. "What? Massacre the city. Shangguan Fenglan was shocked. Yes. He wants to massacre the Sky Dragon City. The Great Elder transmitted. Why? Shangguan Fenglan was furious and asked secretly. The Great Elder said, to avenge those 10 people. When Shangguan Fenglan heard this, she had already guessed the gist of it. A trace of regret crept up in her heart as she blamed herself. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have come up with this rotten idea. I don't blame you. I can only blame this old man for being too weak and unable to protect everyone. The Great Elder's heart was filled with powerlessness. The powerful dragons made people despair. No. You can't die. The 9 Heavens Palace can't do without you. This idea was mine. I will bear it alone. Shangguan Fenglan secretly said. Nonsense. The Great Elder secretly shouted. But at this time, a terrifying murderous aura enveloped them. The two of them trembled as they looked at the black-robed old man. The black-robed old man looked at the two of them with murderous aura and said, I don't like it when people secretly communicate in front of me. I'm sorry. The Great Elder hurriedly apologized. Shangguan Fenglan's eyes flashed as she transmitted her voice, Great Elder, I suddenly thought of a way that might allow the Sky Dragon City to escape this calamity. What way? The Great Elder secretly asked. Shangguan Fenglan did not answer. She raised her head to look at the black-robed old man and said respectfully, Lord, I have already found the whereabouts of Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. Where? The black-robed old man was stunned and quickly asked. Dongling. And now, they are in the Sky Luo City. Shangguan Fenglan said. Sky Luo City, the black-robed old man muttered. The Great Elder and the Deputy Pavilion Master were also stunned. They quietly transmitted their voice and asked, Fenglan, how do you know so clearly? Shangguan Fenglan said, Su Mo told me. Su Mo? The two of them frowned without leaving a trace. Wait. Is it the Great Elder of the Sky Cloud Mountain, Su Mo? The Great Elder secretly asked. Yes. He is now in our 9 Heavens Palace. I came to find you for this. He seems to want to investigate the background of Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. Shangguan Fenglan transmitted her voice. Why does Su Mo want to investigate the background of the two of them? The Great Elder was a little stunned. I don't know. Su Mo said that he will talk to you in detail when he sees you. Shangguan Fenglan secretly said. Su Mo personally came to the northern region to investigate their background. Could it be that they have caused some big trouble in Dongling again? The Deputy Pavilion Master secretly said in surprise. The Great Elder and Shangguan Fenglan looked at each other. Needless to say, this was really possible. Originally, I did not intend to tell this beast, but now I have no choice but to use Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi to divert his attention. I hope it is really effective, and I also hope that Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi can understand me. After Shangguan Fenglan finished speaking, she looked at the black-robed old man nervously. The Great Elder and the Deputy Pavilion Master were also nervous to the extreme. After a while, the black-robed old man looked at Shangguan Fenglan and said, He is really in Dongling? Yes. Someone from the Sky Cloud Mountain of Dongling just happened to come over. If you don't believe me, you can go and interrogate him yourself. Shangguan Fenglan respectfully replied. Okay, let's go to your 9 Heavens Palace. The black-robed old man nodded. Sir, please. The Great Elder and the other two hurriedly retreated to the side. Finally, the crisis of Sky Dragon City was temporarily resolved. Chapter 2268. Below the Stairway to Heaven. Elder Wei was guarding 9th Heaven Palace as usual. If one were to talk about who was the greatest, the 9 Heavens Palace was none other than him. Because he was the one who guarded the only path into the Nine Heavens Palace day and night. Schwa. Accompanied by the sound of something breaking through the air, 4 figures arrived at the peak one after another. It was the black-robed elder, the vice pavilion master, the first elder, and Shengguan Fenglan. Greetings, Lord. Elder Wei opened his eyes and bowed respectfully. The black-robed elder glanced at Elder Wei coldly. Without saying anything, he stepped onto the stairway to heaven. Wang. The stairway to heaven shook as a warning. This made the black-robed elder a little unhappy, but he didn't pursue the matter. The vice pavilion master glanced at the black-robed elder's back and asked, "Should I go up too?" The first elder said, "You should return to Sky Dragon City first and make preparations in advance." Okay. The vice pavilion master nodded. Although the crisis was temporarily resolved, no one knew what the black-robed elder was thinking. What if he wanted to massacre the city later? Therefore, it was necessary to make preparations in advance. Also, ask the pavilion master. The pavilion master has been to the divine land and knows more about the dragons than us. Ask him how the dragons learned about the death of the 10 people so quickly. The first elder said. Okay. The vice pavilion master nodded, opened an altar and left quickly. Sigh. I hope we can get through this safely. The first elder murmured. He glanced at Elder Wei and chased after the black-robed elder. The peace will eventually be broken. The eternal cycle of reincarnation, the undying fate, has finally begun. I hope there will be a miracle this time. Elder Wei murmured and sat down cross-legged, silently guarding this pure land. Above the stairway to heaven. Square. Su Mo stood beside the altar. There were many disciples of Ninth Heaven Palace around him, looking at him curiously. This was because some disciples had personally witnessed him using this altar to descend to the Nine Heavens Palace. In other words, the person in front of him wasn't from the North region. And no one had been to Eastern Tomb, Southern Wilderness, and Western Desert except for the giants of the North region. Therefore, they were curious about the people of these 3 regions. Boom! Suddenly, terrifying auras emerged one after another. Su Mo's heart suddenly trembled. What a terrifying aura! But then, a trace of bewilderment crept into his eyes. Why was this aura so familiar? Wait a minute. Previously, when the dragons descended upon Nine Heavens Palace and forced them to hand over Qin Batian, this aura seemed to have appeared as well. Could it be him? Su Mo hurriedly walked to the side of the stairway and looked down. When he saw the black-robed old man, his expression changed drastically. Why was he in the northern region? This was too unlucky. The disciples in the square also gathered behind Su Mo, looking at the black-robed old man in surprise. He actually made Shengguan Fenglan and the first elder personally accompany him, and they even had a respectful look on their faces. What was the background of this person? Whoosh! Several breaths later, the black-robed old man ascended the stairway. Su Mo quickly bowed and said, "East Tomb's Heavenly Cloud Mountain's Grand Elder, Su Mo, pays his respects to Lord Ancestral Dragon." What? He is the Ancestral Dragon? The disciples were dumbfounded. What are you all standing there for? Get out of here! The great elder shouted. The disciples shuddered and immediately turned to run away. The black-robed old man did not talk nonsense. He looked at Su Mo and said, "I heard that Qin Feiyang is in East Tomb." This, Su Mo was stunned as he looked at Shengguan Fenglan and the great elder. The black-robed old man said, "Don't look at them. Answer me." Yes. Su Mo hurriedly nodded and said respectfully, "Qin Feiyang is indeed in East Tomb now." The black-robed old man's eyes flashed slightly and asked, "When did he go?" "I'm not sure about that. I only know that he appeared in Tianluo City this morning." Su Mo said. This morning. The black-robed old man muttered and suddenly turned to look at the great elder and Shengguan Fenglan. The two looked at each other, puzzled. This morning, he killed my dragon's men and then appeared in East Tomb. I want to ask you, how did he go to East Tomb? The black-robed old man said. The two were stunned. The north region is far from East Tomb. It's impossible for them to fly there in such a short time. So there are only two possibilities. The first is this altar of Nine Heavens Palace. The second is the teleportation altar of the Treasure Pavilion. I want to know, is it your Nine Heaven Palace that is secretly helping them, or is it the Treasure Pavilion that is secretly helping them? The black-robed old man said in a deep voice. It's not like that, it's not like that. Shengguan Fenglan hurriedly waved her hand. Then what is it? The black-robed old man looked around and frowned. Where is the vice pavilion master of the Treasure Pavilion? The great elder said, he returned to the Treasure Pavilion first. He dares to leave without my permission. Call him back right now. As I see it, he's just feeling guilty. The black-robed old man's eyes flashed with killing intent. Sir, please calm down. The great elder hurriedly comforted and looked at Shengguan Fenglan. Fenglan, quickly inform the vice pavilion master. Shengguan Fenglan immediately took out an image crystal and sent a message to the vice pavilion master. The vice pavilion master had just returned to the treasure pavilion when he received Shengguan Fenglan's message. He immediately activated the altar and rushed to Nine Heavens Palace. When he saw the black-robed old man and was questioned by the black-robed old man, the vice pavilion master looked innocent and said that he was wronged. However, he was extremely nervous. This ancestral dragon was not so easy to fool. If you are not secretly helping them, then please give me a reasonable explanation. How did they enter Dongling so quickly? The black-robed old man looked at the vice pavilion master and the great elder and shouted. We don't know either. The two exclaimed. Shengguan Fenglan suddenly said, Sir, could it be that he has a divine artifact that can teleport time? Teleport time? The black-robed old man was stunned. I didn't notice this before. But now that I think about it, he has been able to slip away from under our eyes every time. I think this is not a coincidence. Shengguan Fenglan said. The black-robed old man frowned. It seemed to make sense. He turned to look at Su Mo and said, Take me to Dongling immediately. Yes. Su Mo nodded respectfully. Then, while activating the altar, he quietly transmitted his voice to the great elder. What is going on? It's a long story. Take him to Dongling, the great elder said secretly. Okay, I will ask you in detail about Qin Feiyang and Hui later. Su Mo secretly responded. Buzz. The altar was activated, and a blazing light illuminated half the sky. You all stay here and don't leave. The black-robed old man looked at the great elder and the other two and said, then stepped onto the altar. Su Mo followed closely behind. When the black-robed old man disappeared, the three let out a long breath. The vice pavilion master sighed. It seems that it is not easy to cut ties with Qin Feiyang. Yes. The dragons are not stupid. From these clues, they can also see some clues. The great elder was also deeply worried. The two of you, the most urgent thing is that we should immediately contact Qin Feiyang and ask him to think of a way. If he really has a time and space transmission artifact, then all these problems will naturally be solved. But if he doesn't, then it will be really difficult for us to get away with it. Shengguan Fenglan said in a deep voice. The vice pavilion master asked, We can't leave. How can we contact Qin Feiyang? Lunatic. Lunatic and Qin Feiyang have established a contract bridge, allowing him to go to Dongling through your treasure pavilion's teleportation altar. Shengguan Fenglan whispered. Send him a message immediately and ask him to come out of seclusion. The great elder's eyes lit up as he urged Shangguan Fenglan. Yes. Shangguan Fenglan nodded. The great elder looked at the vice pavilion master and said, "Did you ask the pavilion master? How could I make it in time? I was just about to send a message to the pavilion master, but I was called over by Ancestral Gragon." The vice pavilion master sighed. "Then send her a message now," the great elder said. "Okay." The vice pavilion master nodded and took out an image crystal. At the same time, Dongling, Tianluo City. The situation in the northern region was extremely tense, but Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi were sitting in a tea house drinking tea. "Brother Qin, what's so good about this thing?" Hua Yi was naturally there. He sat opposite Qin Feiyang, looking at the teacup in front of him with a look of disgust. "Stop being long-winded. Have I not drunk enough with you? Now you're just drinking tea with me once and you're complaining?" Qin Feiyang glared at him in dissatisfaction. "I can't help it. I really don't like this thing," Hua Yi said, taking out the pot of immortal wine and sniffing it at the tip of his nose. With an intoxicated look, he chuckled and said, "This thing still has a taste. Drinking wine and drinking tea are actually the same. For those who don't understand, no matter how good the wine is, no matter how good the tea is, they all have the same taste." Qin Feiyang held the teacup, tasting it while laughing. Okay, you drink tea, I drink wine. The two of us won't interfere." Hua Yi waved his hand and said loudly, "Waiter, give me a wine cup." A waiter ran over and said with a smile, "Customer, I'm sorry, we are a tea house, we don't have wine cups." While speaking, the waiter glanced at the wine pot in Hua Yi's hand and couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Immortal wine, who in Tianluo City didn't know about it? They could tell with just a sniff. Hua Yi said, "Then go get me another teacup." "Okay." The waiter shouted, turned around, and ran away. Because Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi had changed their appearances, no one in the tea house recognized them. However, the fragrance of immortal wine attracted the attention of many people. Boom! At this moment, two terrifying auras descended in the sky above Tianluo City. Everyone was surprised. Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi were also surprised and hurriedly looked up. Because the second floor of the tea house was a kind of pavilion, all four sides were empty, only a row of railings, so they could clearly see the situation outside. They saw two figures standing in the sky above the ruins of the city lord's mansion. The tea house was not far from the city lord's mansion, so Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi could clearly see them. It was Su Mo and the black-robed old man. Qin Feiyang glanced at Su Mo, then looked at the black-robed old man and asked suspiciously, "Who is he?" But he didn't notice that at the same time he opened his mouth, Hua Yi's eyes flashed with a strong murderous intent. He shook his head and said, "I've never seen him before." Chapter 2269. The aura this person exudes is even stronger than Su Mo's, and there is a faint dragon might. Could it be, it's the dragons? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Dragons? Hua Yi was startled, and thought to himself, how did they find us so quickly? Don't panic. Qin Feiyang sent a sound transmission and took out the divine moon jade pendant. Now, not only had the power of the bloodline disappeared, but he had also changed his appearance. With the divine moon jade pendant, even if the black-robed old man was one of the dragons, he wouldn't be able to find them. However, it was indeed unexpected that the dragons would find Dongling so quickly. Boom! Suddenly, a vast and mighty divine sense emerged and instantly enveloped the entire Heaven Luo city. The owner of the divine sense was the black-robed old man. A moment later, Su Mo looked at the black-robed old man and asked, "Lord, how is it?" "Nothing." The black-robed old man shook his head and frowned. "Are you sure he is in Heaven Luo city?" How would I dare to lie to you? Now, everyone in Heaven Luo City knows of his existence. Not long ago, he even killed the city lord of Heaven Luo City and the law enforcement hall master of my heavenly cloud mountain. Su Mo said. This little bastard is indeed very slippery. The black-robed old man whispered. Su Mo said respectfully, Lord, if there is anything you need, please tell me. All right. Immediately issue a wanted order for this lord. Like the northern region, offer a bounty of 2 legendary artifacts. The black-robed old man said. Yes. Su Mo bowed and replied. Then, he swept his gaze over the city below and shouted, Everyone, listen up. Starting immediately, we will place a bounty on Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. If anyone can provide us with their whereabouts and verify it, my heavenly cloud mountain will reward them with a peak-grade divine artifact. If anyone can capture them or bring their heads to Heavenly Cloud Mountain, my Heavenly Cloud Mountain will reward them with 2 legendary-grade divine artifacts. His voice was like a bell, resounding in all directions. What? 2 legendary artifacts? Even if it's just providing information, there's still a pinnacle artifact? Heavenly Cloud Mountain has really put in a lot of effort this time. It seems that the death of the law enforcement hall master has really angered them. Heaven Luo City instantly boiled. Tea house. Everyone was also discussing excitedly. How great would it be if I could find them? 2 legendary divine artifacts. Brother, don't think about it. With your little bit of cultivation, even if you find them, you can only watch helplessly. Yeah. Although the reward is tempting, the risk is also high. Don't forget that Hua Yi is a half-step undying expert. The others couldn't help but laugh. Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi returned to their stools. As they looked at those people, they couldn't help but want to laugh. Hua Yi looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a sound transmission, As you wish, the Eastern Tomb has also issued a bounty on us. What do you mean, as I wish? This is something that can't be avoided. Qin Feiyang thought. Hua Yi rolled his eyes and sighed, I've realized that ever since I started fooling around with you, I haven't had a single peaceful day. Fooling around? Qin Feiyang was speechless. He transmitted his voice and said, rather than complaining, why don't we quickly think of a way to meet the fiend ancestor and then leave Eastern Tomb? You want to go to the Divine Land that much? Hua Yi looked at him in a daze. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Hua Yi said, once you enter the Divine Land, the enemies you will face will be different. Only with challenges will there be pressure. With pressure, there will also be motivation. Qin Feiyang smiled. I've realized that you have a masochistic disorder. You don't want to live a good life, but you want to take risks. Hua Yi pursed his lips. Qin Feiyang sighed and said, to be honest, I actually want to end the matter of the ancient world as soon as possible and go home early because I miss my family and friends. I've been away for so long, I don't know how they are doing. Family, friends, Hua Yi murmured. Let's not talk about it. Qin Feiyang shook his head and looked up at the sky above the city lord's mansion again. Su Mo and the black-robed old man had disappeared. Buzz. It was also at this moment. Qin Feiyang's image crystal rang. Qin Feiyang frowned. At this time, who would send him a message? One must know that in Dongling, other than Hua Yi, there was no other acquaintance. Let's go. Qin Feiyang took out a few divine crystals, threw them on the table, and brought Hua Yi to the castle. There were many people in Tianluo City, and many of them had spatial divine objects, so disappearing into thin air did not attract much attention. Entering the castle. Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal. Buzz. A shadow appeared. When he saw the person who sent the message, Qin Feiyang was stunned. It was actually Madman. Hua Yi also had a look of surprise. Qin Feiyang asked, "Senior brother Madman, you're also in Dongling?" "Yes." Madman nodded and grinned, "I haven't seen you for a few years, do you miss me?" "Not really." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. Although a few years had passed, Madman was still that madman. Whether it was his personality or other things, there was no change at all. However, the aura that Madman exuded had become a little stronger. Madman asked curiously, "Where are you guys having fun now?" "Tianluo City." Qin Feiyang laughed. "You're really in Tianluo City?" Madman was stunned and asked, "Then did you see the ancestral dragon?" "Ancestral dragon?" Qin Feiyang and Madman were stunned. Madman said, "It's an old man in a black robe, with Su Mo of Heavenly Cloud Mountain." Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other. Could it be the black-robed old man from before? Coming back to his senses, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and condensed the image of the black-robed old man, asking, "Is it him?" "It's him." Madman nodded. "He's actually the ancestral dragon?" Qin Feiyang was shocked. Madman sneered, "He's not only the ancestral dragon, but also the ancestral dragon of the Black Dragon clan." The ancestral dragon of the Black Dragon clan. Qin Feiyang's pupils constricted. Madman said, "Back then, our 9 Heaven Palace's palace master died in his hands." Qin Feiyang clenched his fists, saying, "How did you know I came to Dongling?" "He went to the north region first, and when he learned that you were in Dongling, he came to Dongling to find you. This person's strength can't be underestimated." Madman said solemnly. "How would I dare to underestimate a dignified ancestral dragon?" Qin Feiyang smiled, then said, "Actually, I'm not unlucky. I'm more worried about the Grand Elder and the others. This person's appearance will definitely make them think of the Palace Master's death. If they act impulsively, it will be a devastating disaster." Hua Yi also nodded. "Don't worry. Although we hate this beast, we still know our limits. This time, it was the Grand Elder and Shengguan Fenglan who specially asked me to find you." Madman said. Qin Feiyang stared blankly and asked, "Did you encounter some difficulties?" Madman nodded and explained the situation in detail. This, Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi looked at each other. The dignified dragons actually sent someone to sneak into the 9 Heavens Palace? I just found out about this matter. To be honest, I was also shocked. This Shengguan Fenglan and the old man actually dared to kill the dragon's people? However, this also represents their determination to fight the dragons to the end. Madman said. It's really hard on them. Qin Feiyang sighed and said with a smile, "Go back and tell them, I will take care of this matter." You have a way? Madman asked. To tell you the truth, I do have a space-time teleportation divine tool. As for that beast wanting to massacre the city, I will never let this happen. But I don't understand, how did the dragons know about their deaths so quickly? Qin Feiyang frowned. It's not just this time. Do you still remember the last time in the deepest part? When we killed the fire dragon, the ancestral dragon of the fire dragon clan also appeared very quickly. I think there must be a reason for this. Hua Yi said. The old man and Shengguan Fenglan are also very puzzled about this. Just before I came, they asked the pavilion master of the treasure pavilion. According to the pavilion master of the treasure pavilion, every member of the dragons will sign a destiny contract with the ancestral dragon when they are born. This destiny contract will not have any restrictions or harm to them, and there are no other consequences. It only has one function. That is, when the dragons die, the ancestral dragon will be able to sense it immediately. Madman said. So that's how it is. Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi suddenly understood. Alright then. You guys be more careful. After Madman finished speaking, he turned off the image crystal. Hua Yi shook his head and smiled. I didn't expect so many things to happen after we left. I really don't care. I'm just afraid that it will implicate Nine Heavens Palace and the Treasure Pavilion. Qin Feiyang sighed. Then what are you going to do? Hua Yi asked. Of course I'm going to find the ancestral dragon and confirm in front of him that I have a time and space transmission divine item. In this way, the Great Elder and the others can be cleared of suspicion. At the same time, we have to attract the ancestral dragon's attention to us and let him slowly forget about the massacre of the city. Qin Feiyang said. Looks like I have to take another risk. Hua Yi shook his head and sighed. Don't say that, I really can't leave you now. Qin Feiyang smiled. Get lost. Hua Yi unhappily glared at him. Qin Dage, brother Hua Yi, come and help me. There are so many Qiankuan rings and Qiankuan bags. I can only sort them out by myself. At this time, Fire Lotus's voice resounded in the hall outside. Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi looked at each other and walked out of the room. They immediately saw that the floor of the hall was full of iron frames. Fire Lotus was in front of the iron frames, sweating profusely. Fire Lotus turned to look at the two and said helplessly, I really miss Dan Wangkai and the others. With them here, I don't need to do anything. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh and asked, where's the white-eyed wolf? Ask it to come out and help. It? Forget it. With its greedy personality, it will only cause trouble for me. Fire Lotus shook her head. That's true. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly and strode forward. He reached out to wipe the sweat on Fire Lotus's forehead and said with a smile, you'll have to work hard. We still have things to do now. Okay. Fire Lotus nodded. When Hua Yi saw Huolien's obedient appearance in front of Qin Feiyang, as well as her face filled with happiness and enjoyment, a hint of a smile flashed through his eyes. But in his heart, there was some jealousy. Was it envy? Or jealousy? Chapter 2270. Cough, cough. Hua Yi dryly coughed and looked at the two of them. You two, that's enough. You have a problem with this? Qin Feiyang speechlessly glanced at Hua Yi. Of course I have a problem. I'm all alone. My only family member, Master, hasn't come to see me for several years. Aren't you torturing me like this? Let me tell you, a lonely man's heart is very fragile. His jealousy is also very strong. Hua Yi coldly snorted. Not only did Fire Lotus not restrain herself, she even hugged Qin Feiyang's arm and proudly said, then you can slowly be jealous. Hua Yi's face was dyed red, extremely ugly to look at. Alright. Stop teasing him. You can slowly sort it out. There's no rush. We'll go do our work first. Qin Feiyang looked at Fire Lotus and said. Fire Lotus nodded with a smile and let go of Qin Feiyang. She didn't forget to provoke Hua Yi. Hua Yi's face turned black. Let's go. Qin Feiyang dragged Hua Yi and left the ancient castle. They appeared in the tea house again. Without stopping, they opened an altar and quickly left. Outside the city, in the west, there was a long undulating mountain range. This place was called Tianluo Mountain Range. Within the mountain range, berserk beasts were densely packed. Moreover, the weakest berserk beast was at the war god level. One could even sense the aura of a supreme god berserk beast. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to approach this place. Not only because of the powerful berserk beasts hiding here, but also because this was the location of Heaven Cloud Mountain. Qin Feiyang had read the youth's memory, so he knew the location of Heaven Cloud Mountain. Heaven Cloud Mountain was at the end of Tianluo Mountain Range. Towering peaks rose from the ground and towered into the sky. Ancient trees flourished with vigor. Although Heaven Cloud Mountain was like Ninth Heaven Palace, floating in the sky, the entire Heaven Cloud Mountain was enveloped in a divine barrier. Moreover, there was only one entrance. Shua. Two figures descended at the end of the Tianluo mountain range. Looking at the majestic Heaven Cloud Mountain in front of them, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel shocked. There were groups of giant peaks that stretched endlessly. Furthermore, the ferocious beasts in the Heaven Cloud Mountain range were even more terrifying than the ferocious beasts in the Sky Cloud Mountain range. He could even sense the aura of Ninth Heaven's realm beasts. In front of the two of them was a plain that was about half a mile wide. The other end of the plain led to a large canyon. That was the entrance to Heaven Cloud Mountain. There was also an old man sitting cross-legged beside the entrance. The old man had white hair and was dressed very plainly. There was no aura coming from him at all. He was just like an ordinary old man. However, to be able to guard the entrance to Heaven Cloud Mountain, he definitely wasn't as simple as he seemed on the surface. Hua Yi secretly laughed and said, "Brother Qin, this old man's strength isn't inferior to Old Wei." Not inferior to Old Wei? Qin Feiyang's pupils contracted. Could it be that he was also a half-step undying expert? Hua Yi said again, "I just don't know if his personality is comparable to Old Wei's." Qin Feiyang laughed, "Then let's go and try." That's exactly what I wanted. Hua Yi laughed and took out 2 pills. He threw one to Qin Feiyang and took the other. Very quickly, the two of them regained their original appearance. "Let's go." Hua Yi laughed. The two of them stepped out and landed on the plain, walking step by step towards the entrance. The old man also sensed their aura at the first moment. But he didn't open his eyes. When Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi approached, the old man opened his mouth and said hoarsely, "Outsiders are forbidden from entering Heaven Cloud Mountain." Hua Yi said, "Old man, why don't you open your eyes and see who we are?" The old man said indifferently, "This old man's duty is only to guard the entrance and not participate in any disputes. So who you are, to this old man, is not important at all." "Huh, your personality is indeed the same as Old Wei of Ninth Heaven Palace. I like it." Hua Yi laughed. "Old Man Wei," the old man muttered, "I haven't seen him for many years. Is he still well? You know each other?" Hua Yi was surprised. "Yes." The old man nodded. "He's pretty good. Just like you, guarding Ninth Heaven Palace every day." Hua Yi said. The old man laughed and said, "Let's go, this is not a place you should be." Could it be that this is not Heaven Cloud Mountain? Hua Yi was suspicious. "Yes." The old man said. Hua Yi said, "Then that's right, we are here for Heaven Cloud Mountain." The old man said, "Are you here for my Heaven Cloud Mountain, or for the ancestral dragon?" Old man is also an understanding person. Then I'll have to offend you." Hua Yi cupped his hands and said that. A terrifying aura exploded out. At the same time, Qin Feiyang retreated a few steps, waved his hand, and with a clang, the time and space gate appeared. Along with the surge of divine power, it quickly recovered. "That old bastard who gave the order to capture us, get out here and die!" Hua Yi shouted. His voice was like thunder, echoing throughout Heaven Cloud Mountain. Heaven Cloud Mountain. In a large hall, the ancestral dragon sat on a throne, and below him, a group of Heaven Cloud Mountain giants stood respectfully. When Hua Yi shouted, the ancestral dragon suddenly stood up, and 2 cold lights burst out from his eyes. The group of Heaven Cloud Mountain giants also turned around and looked at the entrance in shock. He really ate a leopard's guts, daring to take the initiative to provoke the ancestral dragon? Have you come out yet? Do you want this young master to send someone in to pick you up? Huiyi's provocative voice sounded again. Shua. The black-robed old man took a step forward and disappeared without a trace. Su Mo and the other giants looked at each other and quickly followed. Whoosh! In less than 3 breaths, the black-robed old man appeared in front of the entrance. Huiyi raised his eyebrows, and said, "So it's you, old bastard, daring to arrest us? Are you courting death?" The black-robed old man looked at Qin Feiyang, and then at Huiyi. "The one courting death is you." Boom! He stepped out of the canyon and landed on the plains, and a terrifying dragon's aura rolled out. What the hell? It's actually dragon's aura? Who are you? Huiyi's face changed, and he asked in surprise. This lord is a dragon, the ancestral dragon of the dragons. The black-robed old man said coldly, and his divine power roared in all directions, and like a tide, it blasted towards Huiyi. What? Ancestral dragon. Huiyi's face paled, and he said with a flattering smile, "You should have said so earlier. If you were the ancestral dragon of the dragons, how would we dare to come and settle accounts with you? Sorry to disturb you, see you later." After saying that, he turned around and rushed out of the space-time gate. Qin Feiyang also rushed into the space-time gate with a look of horror. Seeing this, the black-robed old man had a trace of suspicion in his eyes. "Old bastard, we'll meet again if fate wills it." After Qin Feiyang and Huiyi entered the space-time gate, the horror on their faces disappeared, and they waved at the black-robed old man with a smile. In the next moment, the two of them disappeared without a trace. The space-time gate was also hidden in the void and disappeared. Where are they? The cultivation of Su Mo and the other big shots was far inferior to the black-robed old man, so they only rushed over now. Looking at the empty void, they were a little stunned. The old man finally opened his eyes, got up, and looked at the black-robed old man respectfully, and said, "My lord, that gate should be a space-time transmission artifact." "Space-time transmission," the black-robed old man murmured. The old man said, "With this artifact, unless they show up on their own, it will be difficult to find them. Even if you can't find them, you have to find them for this lord." The black-robed old man said angrily. Su Mo hurriedly said, "My lord, please calm down, we will do our best." "Humph. This lord will go to the north region first. Before this lord returns, it's best to have news of them," the black-robed old man said. "Aren't Qin Feiyang and the others in our east tomb? Why are you still in the north region?" Su Mo was suspicious. "To massacre the city." The black-robed old man said word by word, and then turned around and entered the Grand Canyon. And in the deepest part of the Grand Canyon, there was a particularly tall altar. This was the altar that led to the Ninth Heaven Palace. Massacre the city. When Su Mo and the others heard this, their eyes couldn't help but tremble. What a vicious and merciless person. Su Mo, quickly follow and take a look. You must investigate the background of Qin Feiyang and the others," the woman in the lead said. "Yes." Su Mo nodded and immediately chased after the black-robed old man. North Region. Ninth Heaven Palace. The Great Elder and the other two anxiously stood beside the altar. Wang! The altar suddenly bloomed with a dazzling light. The three of them felt a chill in their hearts and hurriedly bowed to welcome it. Soon, the black-robed old man and Su Mo appeared on the altar. The black-robed old man glanced at Su Mo and frowned. "Why are you following?" Su Mo smiled flatteringly. "I want to see if there's anything I can do." The black-robed old man's eyes were full of disdain, but he seemed to enjoy the feeling of being flattered. The vice pavilion master asked, "My lord, have you found Qin Feiyang?" "Yes. We met just now. It is as you guessed, he has a time and space teleportation divine weapon." The black-robed old man walked down the altar and said expressionlessly. The three of them looked at each other and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that Madman had brought the message. However, Qin Feiyang really had a time and space teleportation divine weapon, which was somewhat out of their expectations. The black-robed old man said, "This sovereign has wronged you before. It's fine, it's fine." The three of them hurriedly waved their hands. The black-robed old man said, "Then let's go to Sky Dragon City." "Why are we going to Sky Dragon City?" The three of them were stunned. "Of course it's to massacre the city." The black-robed old man smiled fiercely and took a step down the heaven stairway. "We're still going to massacre the city?" The three of their expressions changed drastically as they hurriedly chased after him. Su Mo followed behind, looking at the backs of the black-robed old man and the vice pavilion master, his eyes flickering. Just as they were about to descend the heaven stairway, a black-robed youth descended from the sky. It was Madman. When he saw the black-robed old man, Madman's pupils shrank and he hurriedly retreated to the side. The black-robed old man also saw him, but ignored him and directly passed by him. "Old man, where is he going?" When the great elder and the other two passed by, Madman asked suspiciously. "He's going to massacre the city." The great elder secretly said without turning his head, his heart burning with anxiety. "What? Massacre the city?" Madman's eyes trembled as he stared at the back of the black-robed old man, his hands tightly clenched. "Don't act recklessly, this has nothing to do with you. We will take care of it, hurry back." Shengguan Fenglan noticed Madman's abnormality and secretly said something before hurriedly chasing after him. Chapter 2271. Looking at the backs of the great elder and the others, Madman had an indescribable bitterness in his heart. That's right. The other party was the ancestral dragon of the dragons. Back then, even the palace master died tragically in his hands. What could he do? Before the dragons appeared, he still felt that his strength was not bad, firmly sitting on the throne of the younger generation. However, it was only after the appearance of the dragon race that he realized how insignificant he was. He also hated himself. Why did he waste these thousands of years? Although his divine arts had greatly improved, his cultivation did not improve at all. If he could cultivate seriously in these thousands of years, not to mention the imperishable realm, he could at least reach the 9th heaven realm. Why did he have to wait until time passed to know how precious it was? All of a sudden, he had an urge to leave. These years of laziness had already become a habit. Perhaps only by going out and exploring could he regain his initial drive and drive. Elder Wei sized up Madman and suddenly laughed. "Your road is still long, don't be depressed." Madman looked at Elder Wei, turned around and silently stepped onto the heaven stairway, walking up. Sky Dragon City. Outside the city, above a forest, two figures stood facing the wind. It was Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. That's right. The two of them had opened the gate of time and space and directly returned to the northern region. Hua Yi looked around and asked suspiciously, "Why did you run back to the northern region?" Qin Feiyang was silent, looking at the bustling Sky Dragon City. After a long time, he sighed, "So many people, so many old and weak women and children, if the city is really massacred, what a cruel scene it would be." Hua Yi said, "So, you came back to prevent the ancestral dragon from massacring the city?" Although Shengguan Fenglan used us to temporarily resolve the crisis of Sky Dragon City, no one can guess the thoughts of the ancestral dragon. No one knows if he has forgotten about this matter. Qin Feiyang said. "Then what do you plan to do?" Hua Yi asked. "We definitely can't move the people of Sky Dragon City. Because once we do that, the ancestral dragon will know that we care about these people. At that time, he will not let us go. It will even affect the lives of the entire northern region. If things really develop to this point, then we will become sinners for all eternity." Qin Feiyang said. If we don't move, what else can we do to stop him? Hua Yi frowned. Fight to the death. Let's go prepare the blood right away. If he really comes to massacre the city, we'll fight him to the death. A cold light flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes. Fight to the death, Hua Yi muttered to himself and sighed. This time, this ancestral dragon must have come prepared. If we want to kill him, I'm afraid it won't be that easy. Qin Feiyang said, if he really wants to massacre the city, do we have a choice? Ha, Hua Yi laughed heartily and nodded, all right, I'll go crazy with you to the end. Immediately prepare the blood. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and an altar quickly opened. Boom! However, at this moment, a terrifying aura descended upon Sky Dragon City. Qin Feiyang and Jiang Chen were shocked. They quickly looked up and saw 5 people standing in the sky above Sky Dragon City. The leader was the black-robed old man. The Great Elder, the Vice Pavilion Master, and Shengguan Fenglan stood behind him, their faces full of anxiety. No one knew what they were talking about. Su Mo watched coldly from the side. What's going on? The people in the city were also bewildered. Hua Yi said in a deep voice, he won't really want to massacre the city, right? Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. Milord, I beg you, please show mercy. Many of them are innocent. The Great Elder and the other 2 kept begging. But the black-robed old man remained indifferent, his expression revealing a ruthless coldness. What are you all still standing below for? He wants to massacre the city, why aren't you running? The Great Elder roared. What? Massacre the city. The entire city instantly burst into an uproar. Towards the Great Elder's actions, the black-robed old man was not angry, but his face was full of disdain. So what if these people knew? Could they escape from under his nose? Boom! With a wave of his hand, divine power rolled out, and a destructive aura instantly enveloped the entire Sky Dragon City. Run! The people in the city immediately panicked and fled out of the city in fear. Damn beast, he really wants to massacre the city. Hua Yi clenched his fists tightly. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, it's too late to prepare the blood now. Then what should we do? Hua Yi looked at him in a daze. What else can we do? Let's lure him here first. Qin Feiyang gritted his teeth and laughed, old bastard, you're really haunting us, wherever we go, you'll follow? The black-robed old man was stunned. The Great Elder and the other 3 were also stunned. Isn't this Qin Feiyang's voice? When did he return to the northern region? The 5 of them immediately looked towards the direction of the voice and saw 2 young men, with their hands behind their backs, standing above the forest outside the city, looking at them mockingly. The black-robed old man frowned. Swish! Following closely. He took a step forward, flew out of the city, and descended in front of Qin Feiyang. The Great Elder and the other 3 followed closely behind. Why did you come back? Shengguan Fenglan secretly said angrily. Hua Yi transmitted, if we don't come back, who will protect the people of Sky Dragon City? With your current state, can you do it? Let's go immediately. The fate of Sky Dragon City has already been decided, don't make any more meaningless sacrifices. Shengguan Fenglan secretly shouted. Hua Yi secretly laughed, if we don't work hard to the end, how will we know if there will be a change? Fool! If not for the black-robed old man's presence, Shengguan Fenglan would have immediately stepped forward and slapped them. However, Sumo's eyes flashed with killing intent. Time and space teleportation divine artifact, who gave it to you? Qin Badian? The black-robed old man looked at Qin Feiyang and asked. What? You still want to take it by force? Qin Feiyang said. Is there a need? Anyway, you're going to die soon. After you die, won't this divine artifact belong to me, the dragons? However, this venerable and Qin Batian can be considered old acquaintances, and I have never seen him use this divine artifact. This venerable is really curious. Where did you get this divine artifact? The black-robed old man said. Don't be too confident. Give me a day's time, I guarantee that you won't be able to return. Qin Feiyang said. A day's time? The black-robed old man was slightly taken aback, and laughed. Do you want to open the slaughter domain? Unfortunately, this venerable will not give you this chance. Before his voice faded, the black-robed old man flashed and approached Qin Feiyang, and slapped out with his palm. Seeing that the situation was not good, Hua Yi hurriedly stood in front of Qin Feiyang, and used all his strength to punch out. At the same time, Qin Feiyang also quickly retreated to the side. Boom! The fist and palm met in an instant. Hua Yi spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot, the skin on his arm was lacerated, and like a meteorite, he flew out horizontally. Rumble. Mountains continued to collapse one after another. In the end, Hua Yi, accompanied by a painful howl, smashed into the ground and was submerged in the mud. So strong? Qin Feiyang was shocked. Hua Yi, who was a half-step Undying Realm expert, actually had no power to fight back. Swish! The black-robed old man smiled contemptuously, and instantly landed in front of Qin Feiyang, pointing at Qin Feiyang's chest. It seemed to be a gentle point, but it caused Qin Feiyang to be seriously injured on the spot. His chest. A bloody hole appeared. His whole body, like a cannonball, smashed into a mountain. The earth cracked, and the mountains collapsed. Billowing dust and smoke covered all directions. But the black-robed old man was stunned, staring at the blood floating in the void. Why wasn't it the purple gold dragon blood? What was going on? Whoosh! Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi rushed out of the ground one after another, disheveled and extremely embarrassed. Too strong, we are not his opponent at all. Hua Yi said in a deep voice. Yes. He still showed mercy, otherwise, we would have become corpses by now. Qin Feiyang whispered. Without opening the slaughter domain, it was impossible to fight with the ancestral dragon. The black-robed old man came back to his senses, looking at the bloody hole in Qin Feiyang's chest, frowned, and said, Where is your bloodline power? It has disappeared. Qin Feiyang swallowed a life-divine pill and said. Disappeared? The black-robed old man raised his eyebrows. The purple gold dragon blood has disappeared, and for you dragons, I am no longer valuable. Can you let me go now? Qin Feiyang said. The black-robed old man frowned, saying, Without the purple gold dragon blood, you are indeed worthless in the eyes of us dragons. But, do you think this lord is stupid? Speaking of this, a trace of ridicule crept up in the black-robed old man's eyes. Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. Do you think this lord doesn't know that Qin Batian has already developed a pill that can conceal the power of the bloodline? The black-robed old man sneered. Qin Feiyang sighed deeply, and said, It seems that you are not easy to fool. Your little tricks, in front of this lord, are just a child's game. I won't hide it from you. Before this lord came to the northern region, Lord Dragon Sovereign had instructed me that I don't need you alive. I can even bring your corpse back. The black-robed old man said. Qin Feiyang said, Then it seems that I am dead for sure today. Yes. The black-robed old man nodded. Then we'll wait and see. Qin Feiyang grinned, grabbed Hua Yi, and prepared to enter the castle. This lord knows that you have a spatial divine object, but since this lord dares to say so, I am not afraid of you hiding. The most important thing is that if you hide, the people of Sky Dragon City will die because of you. The black-robed old man laughed playfully. do you think I care about their life and death? Qin Feiyang laughed. This lord believes that you will care because you are the descendant of Qin Batian. The people of the Qin clan like to bemoan the state of the universe and pity the fate of mankind. They think that they are great, but in fact, they are very stupid. They are just a group of lowly ants. What is there to care about? The black-robed old man said disdainfully. How funny. Even if I am the descendant of Qin Batian, do I have to be like him? To be honest, I am actually very disgusted by what my ancestor did. What is the use of being merciful? In my understanding, being merciful to others is being cruel to oneself. Although I am his descendant, if you really think so, then you are gravely mistaken. Because I once slaughtered an entire continent of living beings. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. Is that so? The black-robed old man was surprised. Chapter 2272. Do you want me to prove it to you? Qin Feiyang said. Sure. If you go and slaughter Sky Dragon City now, I will believe you. The black-robed old man crossed his arms in front of his chest with a mocking look on his face. Qin Feiyang looked cold on the surface, but he was furious in his heart. Even if he pretended to be indifferent, he would not be able to stop the ancestral dragon from slaughtering Sky Dragon City. What could he do to get rid of this danger? Did he really have to follow the ancestral dragon to the dragons? Who was the one who said that he had slaughtered an entire continent? Why don't you do it now? The black-robed old man mocked. No. Qin Feiyang made up his mind. If this continued, it would become more obvious that he cared about everyone. Then you better watch carefully. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly as a surge of divine power surged out like a tide toward Sky Dragon City. He really did it? The black-robed old man was surprised. Looking at Qin Feiyang's expression again, there was indeed not the slightest bit of pity or pity. Could it be that his second son was really different from Qin Batian? However, at the same time, the Vice Pavilion Master and the other two Vice Pavilion Masters all made their moves at the same time. Boom! The divine power was destroyed on the spot. The black-robed old man turned around and stared at the three of them. What are you doing? Lord! The heavens are merciful, please be merciful and let them go. The three of them knelt in the air and begged. As for Su Mo, he did not say a word from start to finish. Courting death. The black-robed old man's eyes flashed with hostility as he charged towards the three Vice Pavilion Masters with an overwhelming aura. Puff! The three of them vomited blood on the spot as they were sent flying, their faces pale. Aren't they just adding to the chaos? Qin Feiyang muttered. Hua Yi thought, they are saving the people of Sky Dragon City. How is this adding to the chaos? Do you think you can save them? Let me tell you, not only will you not be able to save Sky Dragon City, you will also implicate Nine Heavens Palace and Treasure Pavilion. I attacked Sky Dragon City because I did not want to make any more sacrifices. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. I know. But I know Great Elder and the others too well. They won't just sit by and watch, even if it means risking their lives. Hua Yi sighed. Qin Feiyang fell silent. Was there really no way to stop it? My lord, I am willing to die for them. I only beg you to let them go. Shangguan Fenglan exclaimed. She blamed herself. If she hadn't been impulsive and killed those 10 people, if she hadn't been possessed and suggested this idea to the first elder, none of this would have happened. Die for them. The black-robed elder lowered his head and looked at Shangguan Fenglan, who was kneeling in the void. He raised his eyebrows and said, Do you really care about them that much? As the law enforcement hall master of Nine Heavens Palace, I have the duty and responsibility to protect everyone. I'm not afraid of death. I just have a guilty conscience. Shangguan Fenglan said. The more you care, the more I want to kill you. And unfortunately, I have to tell you. Your actions have already angered me, so not only Sky Dragon City, your 9 Heavens Palace and Treasure Pavilion will also face destruction. The black-robed elder raised his head and laughed, his entire body emitting a monstrous evil aura. What? Shangguan Fenglan, Great Elder, and Vice Pavilion Master trembled. Hua Yi also clenched his fists tightly. What Qin Feiyang was worried about really happened. The Northern Region General Pavilion is also in Sky Dragon City, right? Then let's start with Sky Dragon City and Treasure Pavilion. Then 9 Heavens Palace. Finally, the various branches in the entire Northern Region. From now on, the Northern Region will no longer have 9 Heavens Palace and Treasure Pavilion. The black-robed elder laughed sinisterly, his aura surging out. At this moment, whether it was the Great Elder and the other two, or Qin Feiyang and Shangguan Fenglan, they all fell into deep despair. Whoosh! Suddenly, Hua Yi exhaled a long breath, and said, "Brother Qin, promise me one thing." Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. Take the Great Elder and leave immediately. After the killing zone opens, you must help me kill this bastard. Also, help me take care of the Fire Lotus. Hua Yi said, as if he had made an important decision. There was a trace of determination in his eyes. What do you want to do? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Don't ask anything, just remember what I said and leave now. Hua Yi roared, his half-step undying aura erupted without holding back. The black-robed elder looked at Hua Yi. I'd rather die than live in dishonor. Hua Yi said word by word, his fire god power roared out, melting the world. Ant. The black-robed elder's eyes were filled with disdain. He grabbed at the air, and the space around Hua Yi instantly shattered. Hua Yi's face also twisted. It was as if an invisible hand was holding him tightly. His body was already deformed, and blood spurted out from all the pores on his body. Although I am not your opponent, at least I can seriously injure you. The North Region is not a place where you can behave atrociously. Hua Yi roared, and a destructive aura rushed out of his body. What? Self-destruct. Qin Feiyang and the others' faces changed. Hua Yi actually chose to self-destruct his body? The black-robed elder was also shocked. The self-destruction of a half-step undying was no joke. It was enough to destroy half of the North Region. He's really crazy. Su Mo was also panicking. Life is short, why choose to self-destruct? At this moment, a hoarse voice sounded in the sky. Everyone immediately looked up and saw the void above. Unknowingly, an old man and a young man appeared. The old man's body was stooped, wearing tattered clothes, and his hair was messy, like a beggar. Next to him was a beautiful woman, wearing snow-white clothes, elegant and refined. Qin Feiyang looked at the two in a daze. That's right. The old man and the young man were Lin Yi and the sloppy old man. Lin Yi supported the sloppy old man, looked at Qin Feiyang, and said with a smile, "Brother Feiyang, I didn't expect us to meet again so soon." Qin Feiyang said, "Why are you here?" "We happened to pass by." Lin Yi said. "Happened to pass by?" Qin Feiyang was stunned, then hurriedly looked at Hua Yi and shouted, "Stop, stop." Hua Yi heard the words and hurriedly stopped self-destructing. There was a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Lin Yi's master could even defeat Long Zun's avatar. It was definitely more than enough to deal with Ancestral Dragon. Su Mo's face was full of suspicion. Who are these two people? The sloppy old man glanced at Qin Feiyang and the others, then looked at the black-robed elder and said, "You are a bit too much." The black-robed elder said in a deep voice, "Mind your own business. Do you think this old man has ever cared about your dragon race? But this time is different. You plan to massacre the city. How can I sit back and do nothing about such a heinous thing? The sloppy old man laughed hoarsely. The black-robed elder stared at the sloppy old man. He seemed to be disgusted with the sloppy old man, but there was also a trace of fear. Lin Yi transmitted her voice, Brother Feiyang, you and Brother Hua Yi, leave quickly. Leave? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. Yes. With Master here, Ancestral Dragon does not dare to massacre the city. But Master will not intervene in the grievances between you and dragons, so if you don't take the opportunity to slip away now, your situation may be very bad later. Lin Yi secretly said. Thank you. Qin Feiyang secretly thanked her, then pulled Hua Yi, activated the concealment technique, took out the mystic moon jade pendant, and escaped without looking back. The black-robed elder saw Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi suddenly disappear, and immediately released his divine sense. But there was nothing in his divine sense. Celestial divine stone. The black-robed elder's eyes sank, and his divine power surged out in all directions. The role of celestial divine stone was only to conceal one's aura and block the search of divine sense. It couldn't really make a person disappear. Therefore, a large-scale attack like this could make the other party reveal their true form. However, just as the black-robed elder released his divine power, the sloppy old man raised his arm and gently pressed down. Boom! The black-robed elder's divine power dissipated instantly. Don't go too far. The black-robed elder roared. The sloppy old man said, if you do this, you will hurt the innocent, so this old man will not allow it. Although his tone was flat, there was a majesty that couldn't be disobeyed. Do you have to go against me, the dragons? The black-robed elder's face sank. No. This old man will not intervene in the matter between you dragons and Qin Feiyang. Even if you kill him, it has nothing to do with this old man. However, this old man can't tolerate hurting the innocent creatures of the North region. As the sloppy old man finished speaking, his old arm gently pressed down again. Boom! A formless aura burst out like a flood that had just broken through a dam. Puff! The black-robed elder's body shook, and he immediately spat out a mouthful of old blood. His face instantly turned pale. The great elder and the others were stunned. With a wave of his hand, he severely injured the ancestral dragon of the Black Dragon clan. This strength is too terrifying. I hope this time's bloodshed can make you remember. In the future, in the North region, don't mess around like today. After the sloppy old man finished speaking, he turned to look at Lin Yi and smiled, Girl, let's go. Okay. Lin Yi nodded, supporting the sloppy old man. They stepped into the air step by step and gradually disappeared into the horizon. They were like two passers-by, coming and going quickly. As for Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi, they had already disappeared without a trace. Chapter 2273. The sky above the forest was dead silent. The black-robed elder looked in the direction where the master and disciple left, his face extremely gloomy. Next to him, the great elder, the vice pavilion master, Shangguan Fenglan, and Su Mo were all terrified. They were afraid that the black-robed elder would vent his anger on them. After a long time, the black-robed elder retracted his gaze and turned to scan Sky Dragon City. The great elder and the other two became nervous again. They prayed silently in their hearts that the city would not be massacred. They did not want to be sinners. A moment later, the black-robed elder finally looked away, looked up at the great elder and the other three, and said, Your North Region and East Tomb, continue to arrest Qin Feiyang for me. Yes. The four responded respectfully. Whoosh. Immediately after, the black-robed elder left alone without saying a word. The great elder and the other two secretly heaved a sigh of relief. They had finally escaped this calamity. The vice pavilion master looked at the north region where the black-robed elder was and asked loudly, "Sir, where are you going?" But the black-robed elder acted as if he did not hear and quickly disappeared from the sight of the four. "What is he doing?" Shengguan Fenglan looked at the great elder and the vice pavilion master suspiciously. "Who knows?" The great elder snorted, looked at the vice pavilion master and said, "Next, I will have to trouble your treasure pavilion to appease the people of Sky Dragon City. It's a small matter." The vice pavilion master smiled, turned to look at Su Mo, and said, "Brother Su, you are so busy, how do you have time to come to our north region to play?" "I don't have time to play." Su Mo sighed deeply, and said, "I came to the north region to investigate Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi." "Investigate them?" The great elder and the other two looked at each other, and an imperceptible light flashed in their eyes. Shengguan Fenglan asked suspiciously, "Why do you want to investigate them?" Su Mo said in a deep voice, "They killed my sister and brother-in-law in Sky Luo City, and my nephew." "What?" The three were stunned. As expected, they had gotten into big trouble again. "Brother Su, if I remember correctly, your sister seems to be the law enforcement hall master of Sky Cloud Mountain?" the great elder said. Su Mo nodded. The great elder shook his head and said, "Truly two malefic stars, bringing disaster wherever they go." Su Mo was stunned and asked, "What do you mean?" "I won't hide it from Brother Su. This Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi have given us quite a bit of trouble." The grand elder sighed. "I would like to hear the details." Su Mo said. First elder was silent for a while, then he turned to look at Shengguan Fenglan and said, "Fenglan, send a message to your sister and ask her to arrange a banquet at Yulan Tower immediately. I want to entertain Brother Su well." "All right." Shengguan Fenglan nodded. The first elder said, "Brother Su, this is not the place to talk. When we get to Yulan Tower, this old man will tell you the details." "All right." Su Mo smiled. Sky Dragon City, South Side. In the air above a desolate mountain, Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi stood in the air, their hands on their knees. They were sweating profusely and gasping for breath. "He shouldn't have chased after us, right?" Hua Yi turned to look at the void behind him. "With his speed, if he were to chase after us, he would have already caught up to us. Let's go down and take a rest." Qin Feiyang pointed to a bare mountain peak below. Hua Yi nodded. Along the way, the two of them had been running for their lives, and were exhausted. Landing on the mountain peak, the two of them leaned against a rock, wiping the sweat from their foreheads. Looking at the sky, their faces were full of fear. After a long while, they finally regained their senses. Hua Yi let out a long breath and said with a smile, "When I self-destructed, I really thought I was going to die. You gave me a fright too. I really admire your courage. You actually dared to self-destruct your body without the slightest hesitation." Qin Feiyang said. "In that situation, was there any other way besides self-destructing?" Hua Yi sighed. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and patted Hua Yi's shoulder, saying, "One who survives a great disaster is bound to have good fortune later." "Nonsense." Hua Yi pursed his lips. "This is called speaking from experience, how is it nonsense? Believe me, the two of us will definitely have a great opportunity." Qin Feiyang smiled. Hua Yi glanced at him and said indifferently, "You can slowly comfort yourself, I'll take a nap first." "Rest?" It seemed that he was really scared. Qin Feiyang said, "Take a nap later, answer my question first." Hua Yi's eyes flashed slightly, frowning, "Aren't you annoying?" After saying that, he directly closed his eyes. Qin Feiyang said, "This question concerns me." Hua Yi turned a deaf ear. Qin Feiyang also ignored him and said, "Why did you say that you would take care of the fire lotus when you self-destructed?" Hua Yi's eyelids moved, but his expression did not change. Do you know the fire lotus? And you know the identity of the fire lotus? Did you approach me for the fire lotus? Qin Feiyang threw out 3 questions. Hua Yi was still indifferent. Qin Feiyang said, if you don't answer, I'll take it as a yes. Up to you. Hua Yi said impatiently. Qin Feiyang glanced at him, then raised his head to look at the sky, his eyes flashing with a hint of contemplation. Suddenly, he turned his head to look at Hua Yi, his eyes flashing as he got up and entered the castle. Fire Lotus was still busy in the hall. She raised her head to look at Qin Feiyang and smiled, "You're done." I'll go check the pill scripture first, and come out later to help you organize it. Qin Feiyang said. All right. Fire Lotus nodded. Looking at such an obedient Fire Lotus, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a hint of hesitation. But in the end, he sighed inwardly and entered the cultivation room, tightly closing the stone door. Why did you close the door? Fire Lotus looked at the stone door suspiciously, but did not think too much about it. Cultivation room. Qin Feiyang sat in front of the desk, his head lowered, his eyes flickering. A moment passed. He took a deep breath and took out the image crystal. Wang. After a while, Shangguan Fenglan's image appeared. When Shangguan Fenglan saw Qin Feiyang, she immediately revealed a grateful expression, and said, "This time, I really have to thank you." Qin Feiyang was startled, and laughed, "Hearing you say this, it seems that Sky Dragon City has avoided this calamity. It's all thanks to you." Shangguan Fenglan said. Now that she recalled the scene of Ancestral Dragon getting angry, she couldn't help but feel a lingering fear. I didn't do anything. The people I really have to thank are Yi and her master. Qin Feiyang said. Shangguan Fenglan said regretfully, I also want to thank them in person, but unfortunately, I don't have the chance. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Shangguan Fenglan said, not long after you left, they also left. What about Ancestral Dragon? Qin Feiyang asked. I don't know where he went. Shangguan Fenglan shook her head. I don't know where he went, Qin Feiyang frowned slightly. But what is certain is that he won't give up just like that, you must be careful. Shangguan Fenglan warned. Qin Feiyang nodded. Now, let's talk about Su Mo, why did you kill his sister? Do you know that he is the great elder of Heavenly Cloud Mountain? Shangguan Fenglan said angrily. I know. But so what? Don't tell me that just because of their identity and status, we have to stand there and take a beating? Qin Feiyang said. What is going on? Shangguan Fenglan frowned. Chapter 2274. It's actually very simple, Qin Feiyang explained the situation in detail. So that's how it is. After listening, Shangguan Fenglan nodded in realization. Qin Feiyang said, then tell me now. If it were you, would you tolerate it? It's not a big deal. Why do you have to make such a fuss? Shangguan Fenglan looked at him helplessly. This is not a big deal. Well, I'm narrow-minded. Qin Feiyang was speechless. You guys are impulsive. Tianyun Mountain is the ruler of Dongling. Offending them won't do you any good. Shangguan Fenglan sighed. It doesn't matter. Qin Feiyang shrugged. I'm not worried, but the eunuch is. Okay, I'm meddling in other people's business. Shangguan Fenglan said discontentedly. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly and asked, where is Su Mo now? The first elder and the deputy pavilion master are receiving him in Yulan building. But don't worry, the first elder and the others know what to say and what not to say. Shangguan Fenglan said. From what you said, it seems that I have some secrets that I can't let others know. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. The power of your bloodline has been exposed, and your identity has been exposed. You really have no secrets. However, you definitely can't let Su Mo know about your relationship with us. Shengguan Fenglan said. That's true. Now he hates me and Hua Yi to the bone. If he knows about our relationship with you, I'm afraid he will secretly inform the dragons. Qin Feiyang nodded. So, no matter how much trouble you encounter in Dongling or how much trouble you cause, we won't care. Shengguan Fenglan said. Qin Feiyang said, not only can you not care, but you also have to hunt us down with Tianyun Mountain. Hunt you down together? Shengguan Fenglan was stunned and speechless. I can't help but wonder if you have masochism. You feel uncomfortable not being hunted down for a day. Qin Feiyang's face twitched. Who wants to be hunted down every day? Isn't this specially made for dragons to see? Wasn't it because they didn't want to implicate Nine Heavens Palace and the Treasure Pavilion? He actually said that he was masochistic. That was too much. Shengguan Fenglan waved her hand and said with a smile, okay. I won't joke around. Is there anything else? If not, I have to go back to work. Wait a moment. What was Grand Elder's reaction when he found out about my relationship with Yi? Qin Feiyang asked curiously. What reaction? Shengguan Fenglan thought for a moment and said, let me put it this way. If you were in front of him at that time, he would definitely beat you up. Then it's fortunate that I wasn't in front of him. Qin Feiyang patted his chest and said. Shengguan Fenglan shook her head and laughed in spite of herself. But I believe that after this incident, the First Elder will not fuss about it anymore. That's good. Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at Shengguan Fenglan. He seemed to be hesitating about something. What happened? Shengguan Fenglan looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang said, actually, I'm sending you a voice transmission this time because of another matter. What is it? Shengguan Fenglan was puzzled. Qin Feiyang frowned. You're a big man. Being so wishy-washy is not like your character. Shengguan Fenglan said. Qin Feiyang exhaled and said, I want to know what our Ninth Heaven Palace Master looks like. Shengguan Fenglan was surprised. Qin Feiyang hurriedly said, don't misunderstand. I'm just suddenly curious. Based on my understanding of you, if you're just curious, you won't be so hesitant. I don't like to be fooled. I want to know the real reason. Shengguan Fenglan said. Can't you just tell me first? I'm begging you. Qin Feiyang put his palms together and looked at Shengguan Fenglan pleadingly. You're really unpredictable when it comes to doing things. Shengguan Fenglan shook her head helplessly. With a wave of her hand, a woman's shadow gradually condensed. What? Qin Feiyang looked at the woman's face. It was as if he was struck by lightning. The woman was about 20 years old. She had an excellent figure and a small waist. Her two slender legs were extremely tall. Her delicate facial features were flawless. Her black hair was like a waterfall. Especially those eyes, they were like two gemstones, bright and lively. She was wearing a long golden silk dress. There was an ethereal air in her nobility. She was like a fairy. No one could raise the slightest blasphemous thought. But the most eye-catching thing was between her eyebrows. In the middle of her eyebrows, there was a fire lotus pattern. What's wrong with you? Looking at Qin Feiyang's reaction, Shengguan Fenglan was quite surprised. However, Qin Feiyang did not seem to hear it. His eyes kept scanning the woman's face and the fire lotus pattern between her eyebrows. This face, this figure, and that fire lotus pattern was exactly the same as the fire lotus. In other words, just as he had guessed before, Fire Lotus was the palace master of Nine Heavens Palace. In fact, he had suspected that Fire Lotus was from Nine Heavens Palace. Because the pattern between Fire Lotus's eyebrows was exactly the same as the symbol of Nine Heavens Palace. But he never thought that Fire Lotus was actually the palace master of Nine Heavens Palace. It was also because he had never thought so that he had never inquired about the appearance of the palace master of Nine Heavens Palace. Just before, Huiyi's silence suddenly reminded him of the pattern between Fire Lotus's eyebrows. Coupled with Huiyi's abnormal behavior, he could not help but begin to suspect in this regard. This was also where he had been hesitating. Because once he confirmed the identity of Fire Lotus, he might lose this sister. After being together for so long, Fire Lotus had become an inseparable part of his life. That was his family. Moreover, this matter was also very inconceivable. A person who had been dead for thousands of years was actually still alive in this world. How shocking was this? So, he had been hesitating. Should he ask Shangguan Fenglan? But in the end, in order to solve the doubts in his heart, and for the sake of Fire Lotus, he chose to find out the truth. And all the doubts in the past were easily solved. For example, why was Fire Lotus in the land of the undead? This was because she had originally died in the land of the undead. And that fire dragon. Why did he say that sending Fire Lotus to Long Zun was a great merit? Because at that time, it was Fire Lotus who had tried her best to protect the ancestor. And finally, Huiyi. Because he had seen through Fire Lotus's identity, he had come to approach him. In other words, on the surface, Huiyi was fooling around with him, but in reality, he was secretly protecting Fire Lotus. Then the truth of Huiyi's identity was naturally revealed. Nine Heavens Palace's Vice Palace Master. Qin Feiyang, say something, is there a problem? Don't scare me. Seeing Qin Feiyang standing there in a daze and not responding for a long time, Shangguan Fenglan couldn't help but become anxious. Qin Feiyang quivered and came back to his senses. He quickly shook his head and said, "It's nothing, it's nothing. I just saw that the palace master is actually so young. I'm a little surprised." "Are you a pig?" Shangguan Fenglan rolled her eyes. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and said unhappily, "You are also a reputable figure, how can you scold people? Did I say something wrong? People who have reached our cultivation level, as long as they are willing, can maintain their youthful appearance for the rest of their lives." Shangguan Fenglan said. That's true, that's true." Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly. Mobile version of the website. Chapter 2275. Shangguan Fenglan said, "All right, I won't talk nonsense with you, I'm going back to work." "All right." Qin Feiyang nodded. Shangguan Fenglan's shadow immediately disappeared. The palace master's shadow also disappeared. Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal, lowered his head and gently knocked on the table, as if he was thinking about something. Suddenly, a smile crept onto his face as he got up and walked towards the stone door. Back then, in order to save his ancestor, Fire Lotus had died in the hands of the ancestral dragon of the Black Dragon clan. And now, by chance, he had saved Fire Lotus again. This should be the so-called fate. Opening the stone door, Qin Feiyang entered the hall and walked to Fire Lotus's side. "What are you doing so mysteriously?" Fire Lotus raised her head and looked at him suspiciously. "What can I do?" Qin Feiyang smiled slightly, squatted on the ground, grabbed a Qianquan bag and asked, "How is it? The harvest this time is not bad. Other than the treasury, there is also a large amount of wealth in the city lord couple's Qianquan ring." Fire Lotus laughed. "What I am most concerned about is how many soul stones they have." Qin Feiyang asked. Fire Lotus said, "The 2 soul stones added together are more than 1 billion. "So much?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. After all, one is the city lord of Sky Dragon City and the other is the hall master of Sky Cloud Mountain Law Enforcement Hall. It is normal for them to have more than 1 billion soul stones. Needless to say about the divine crystals. The two's divine crystals added together are tens of billions. As for the soul stones in the treasury, I have not counted them yet. Fire Lotus said. Then we've really become rich overnight. Qin Feiyang laughed. Fire Lotus nodded. Qin Feiyang checked the Qianquan bag in his hand, most of it was filled with herbs. He looked up at Hua Yi and smiled casually. Girl, I suddenly want to ask you a question. What question? Fire Lotus was suspicious. I'm just saying if your status and position in the northern region is really very high, will you still recognize me as your big brother? Qin Feiyang asked as he tidied up his Qianquan bag. Fire Lotus raised her head to look at Qin Feiyang, a trace of bewilderment flashing in her eyes. However, this trace of bewilderment quickly dissipated as she smiled. Why are you suddenly asking this? Answer me first. Qin Feiyang smiled. Of course. No matter who I am, you will always be my Qin Dage. Fire Lotus said without hesitation. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang put down the Qianquan bag in his hand and looked up at Fire Lotus, saying, Then do you want to know your identity? Of course. Fire Lotus nodded. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said, Actually, I've already investigated your identity. What? The bewilderment in Fire Lotus's eyes appeared once more, with an additional trace of undetectable panic. Qin Feiyang said, You're the palace master of 9 Heavens Palace. Yes. After thinking about it, he decided to tell Fire Lotus the truth. After all, this was Fire Lotus's background and she had the right to know. Palace Master of 9 Heavens Palace? You're not joking, right? How did you find out? Fire Lotus asked with a smile, trying her best to hide the panic in her heart. Just now. I sent a message to Shengguan Fenglan and asked her to tell me what the Palace Master looked like. In the end, it was exactly the same as you. Qin Feiyang said. No way. Fire Lotus was in disbelief. I'm not lying to you. Even the Fire Lotus pattern on your foreheads is exactly the same. Qin Feiyang said. Fire Lotus's eyes were dull as she shook her head and said, I still find it hard to accept. This is too unbelievable. And I know Hua Yi's identity. He's the Vice Palace Master of 9 Heavens Palace. He approached me to protect you. Qin Feiyang smiled. Hua Yi is the Vice Palace Master? Protect me? Let me digest this first. Fire Lotus waved her hand, her face full of disbelief. I know it's hard for you to accept right now, but your identity is definitely true. Why don't you go back to 9 Heavens Palace now? In a familiar place, in front of familiar people, you might be able to recover your lost memories. Qin Feiyang said. What about you? Fire Lotus hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyang and asked. Qin Feiyang said, I'm definitely going to find the demon ancestor and Dong Zhengyang, then enter the divine land. Then I'll go with you. Fire Lotus said. You're going with me? Qin Feiyang frowned. Do you think I'm troublesome? Fire Lotus asked nervously. No. If I didn't know your identity, I would have taken you with me. But I hope you can go to 9 Heavens Palace to recover your memories. Qin Feiyang said. It's not like I haven't been to 9 Heavens Palace. Back then, I was also a disciple of 9 Heavens Palace. If I could really recover my memories in 9 Heavens Palace, I would have recovered them long ago. But after so long, I can't remember anything. So I don't think it's useful to go back to 9 Heavens Palace. Fire Lotus said. Is it because you haven't come into contact with anything related to you? For example, the courtyard in the depths of Nine Heavens Palace. That's where you used to live. If you can go back there, you might be able to recover your memories. And the Great Elder and the others. They know your past. As long as you're willing to go back, they'll definitely do their best to help you recover your memories. Qin Feiyang smiled. Fire Lotus said unhappily, "You're chasing me away. Silly girl. How can I bear to chase you away? But I really hope that you can recover your memories and no longer be a blank person." Qin Feiyang sighed. Don't say it, don't say it. I won't go back anyway. Besides, if I'm really the palace master of Nine Heavens Palace, I can't go back now. Because the ancestral dragon of the Black Dragon race is in the northern region. If he knows that I'm still alive, not only will I be in danger, Nine Heavens Palace will also be implicated. Fire Lotus said. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. After thinking about it, he nodded. That makes sense. Fire Lotus smiled. Actually, I'm not in a hurry right now. Let nature take its course. All right. As you wish. Qin Feiyang rubbed Fire Lotus's head with a doting expression. He didn't feel restrained or distant because of Fire Lotus's identity. Fire Lotus also enjoyed this doting. Time flew by. The next day, early morning. Qin Feiyang appeared on the mountain peak. Looking at Hua Yi, who had slept on the mountain peak for an entire night, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. What are you laughing at? Hua Yi glared at him, then stood up and stretched. He smiled and said, "After waking up, I feel so refreshed." Then, he turned to Qin Feiyang and asked, "Are we going to Dongling now? I think that you should return to Nine Heavens Palace to take charge of the situation. Don't throw everything to the Great Elder and the others. They're also quite tired." Qin Feiyang sighed. What do you mean? I don't understand. Hua Yi shook his head. Fine. Since you want to continue acting dumb, I'll leave this window paper for you. Qin Feiyang smiled and took out the spacetime gate. Hua Yi looked at Qin Feiyang and raised his eyebrows. Clang. As Qin Feiyang's god force poured into the spacetime gate, accompanied by a deafening sound, the spacetime gate quickly recovered and the two of them walked in. Chapter 2276. Dongling. After Heavenly Cloud Mountain and Treasure Pavilion issued the arrest warrant, everyone was looking for Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi everywhere. Of course. They didn't dare to hope to take the heads of Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. After all, Hua Yi's cultivation had long been public. He was a half-step Undying Realm expert. Who would dare to provoke an expert of this level? So, everyone only had one goal, which was to find their whereabouts. As long as they found their whereabouts and reported it to Heavenly Cloud Mountain and Treasure Pavilion, they would be able to obtain a pinnacle divine artifact. Clang! Suddenly, a deafening sound rang out in the sky above Tianluo City. What's that? Everyone looked up in surprise and saw a huge stone door appear in the sky. It's a divine artifact. What's going on? Why would a divine artifact appear? Grab it. Everyone rushed towards the stone door as if they had gone crazy. They all thought that a divine artifact had appeared. However, at the next moment, two young men walked out of the stone door. Immediately, everyone stopped in the air, their eyes filled with horror. Because the people who came out were Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. Hua Yi's powerful cultivation intimidated everyone present. It's them. Quickly report to Treasure Pavilion and Heavenly Cloud Mountain. Everyone scrambled towards Heavenly Cloud Mountain and the Treasure Pavilion. Qin Feiyang put away the spacetime gate and glanced at the crowd below. Why do I feel like we're two pieces of cake in their eyes? Isn't that nonsense? If it weren't for my strength, I'm afraid they would have already swarmed us. Hua Yi shook his head. These two are really arrogant. Yeah. They know that Treasure Pavilion and Heavenly Cloud Mountain are looking for them, but they still came to Tianluo City so brazenly. They should at least cover it up. Do they really think that no one in Dongling can subdue them? But then again, they're really charming. And they're also quite handsome. Below, there was a woman in purple standing in the crowd. She looked up at Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. This woman was about 1.8 meters tall and looked like she was in her 20s. She had an exquisite figure and was as beautiful as a fairy. Her soft and tender skin seemed to break with a flick of his finger. Her long dress fluttered in the wind, and her fine black hair danced in the wind. She looked like a fairy who was about to leave with the wind. Behind him, there were two girls around the age of 18. Their attire was a little different from that of the purple-clothed woman. They were more simple, but they were still quite pretty. It was also the two of them who were criticizing Qin Feiyang and Li Mu. When the purple-clothed woman heard their conversation, she was speechless. I say, the two of you are about to become love-struck fools, do you know that? It's the truth. Miss, I think they are a good match for you. Why don't you just pick one? The two girls giggled. Are you asking for a beating? The purple-clothed woman glared at the two women. The two girls stuck out their tongues at the purple-clothed woman, appearing extremely lively. The violet-robed woman rolled her eyes. She inclined her head and stared at Qin Feiyang and Qin Wentian as she mumbled, "These two arrogant brats actually dared to destroy my Heaven Immortal Tower. I won't spare them. Quickly look. It's the Tower Lord of the Heaven Immortal Tower, Miss Heaven Immortal." Suddenly, someone stared at the purple-clothed woman and exclaimed. "It's really her. Miss Heaven Immortal, I have admired you for a long time. Please give me an autograph. Miss Heaven Immortal, I am Luo Yun. I wonder if I have the honor to invite Miss to the solitary cloud peak to admire the moon?" The crowd instantly became restless. "Miss, look at how charming you are. You can cause a commotion wherever you go." The two women laughed softly. "You guys talk too much." The purple-clothed woman angrily knocked on their foreheads and disappeared without a trace with the two women. Miss Heaven Immortal, everyone looked at the surrounding void, their faces filled with disappointment. Tower Lord of the Heaven Immortal Tower? Miss Heaven Immortal? Hearing the commotion below, Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi couldn't help but look down suspiciously. However, they didn't see anything. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Hua Yi and asked, "What is the background of this Miss Heaven Immortal?" "I don't know." Hua Yi shook his head. "Are you interested?" Qin Feiyang glared at him angrily. "I really don't know." Hua Yi said helplessly. Qin Feiyang wished he could kick him. If others didn't know, he could still understand. But as the Vice Palace Master of Nine Heavens Palace, how could he not know? Playing dumb all day long, was he addicted to it? Hua Yi coughed dryly and looked around. He frowned and said, "Why hasn't this demon ancestor appeared yet?" Qin Feiyang knew that this guy was changing the topic, but he didn't expose him. He looked around and his brows gradually furrowed. He brought Hua Yi and openly descended in the sky above Heaven Luo City. In fact, he was waiting for the demon ancestor to take the initiative to appear. Because yesterday's matter was already big enough. The demon ancestor was at Heavenly Cloud Mountain. Even if he was in seclusion, he should have received the news. But now, after waiting for so long, he actually didn't appear. What was going on? Could it be that because of what happened back then, the demon ancestor felt guilty and didn't have the face to see him? But thinking about it, that didn't seem right. Because he knew the demon ancestor too well. He was definitely not such a person. Boom! Suddenly, two terrifying auras burst out. One came from the direction of Heavenly Cloud Mountain, and the other came from Heaven Luo City. This is, Huiyi's expression changed. He grabbed Qin Feiyang and flew out of the city without looking back. He flew towards the depths of the mountain. What? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Huiyi said in a deep voice, 2 half-step eternal realm auras. Staying in Heaven Luo City to wait for death. Qin Feiyang was shocked. The aura from Heavenly Cloud Mountain is the old man we saw yesterday. As for the aura from Heaven Luo City, there's no doubt that it's from the treasure pavilion. Huiyi said. They actually sent out 2 half-step eternal realm experts. Looks like Dongling City is serious this time. Qin Feiyang frowned. Wrong. Huiyi shook his head. Qin Feiyang was startled and asked suspiciously, "What's wrong?" Huiyi said, "Think about it. If they really want to kill us, why would they release their aura in advance to alert us? Yeah. They could have snuck over and caught us off guard." Qin Feiyang said. They should be hinting at us to leave immediately. In other words, they're secretly helping us. Huiyi said. But why would they do that? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. The treasure pavilion should have something to do with the vice pavilion master. Do you remember that the vice pavilion master talked with the treasure pavilion master for a long time after bringing us to Dongling City? Huiyi asked. Yeah. Qin Feiyang nodded. I think the vice pavilion master asked her to secretly help us at a critical moment. As for why the old man guarding Heavenly Cloud Mountain wants to help us, I really don't know. Huiyi shook his head. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said, could it have something to do with Old Man Wei? Old Man Wei? Huiyi was stunned. Yeah. I remember that he said yesterday that he and Old Man Wei were old friends. Qin Feiyang said. Old friends, Huiyi murmured and frowned. That's not right. Chapter 2277. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. The Eastern Tomb Treasure Pavilion helped us because of the Deputy Pavilion Master's instructions, but this old man from Skycloud Mountain doesn't know about our relationship with Elder Wei. Huiyi said. That's true. Qin Feiyang nodded. Although Su Mo had been to the northern region, the Great Elder and the others didn't tell him the truth. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang said, do you think someone from the Eastern Tomb Treasure Pavilion secretly informed this old man? That may be the only explanation. Huiyi thought for a moment and whispered. Boom! Behind them. 2 terrifying auras surged toward the place. Qin Feiyang and Huiyi turned around and their expressions changed slightly. They saw 2 old men chasing after them at lightning speed. The one on the left was the old man guarding Skycloud Mountain. The old man on the left had a head of long red hair. He wasn't very tall, only about 1.6 meters. But his face was ruddy and his spirit was hale and hearty. His body was also full of muscles. It could be said that he was stronger than a young man. Both of them were using a mysterious footwork and were extremely fast. Legendary level auxiliary divine technique. Huiyi muttered. Didn't you say that they were helping us? Why are they chasing after us? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Not only were the 2 chasing after them with all their strength, but their expressions were also full of killing intent. Maybe I guessed wrong. Huiyi whispered and also used a mysterious footwork. His speed instantly soared by a large margin. Qin Feiyang said in surprise, is this also a legendary level auxiliary divine technique? I'm a half-step invincible realm expert. Is it strange that I have a legendary level auxiliary divine technique? You're making a fuss over nothing. Huiyi glanced at Qin Feiyang with disdain. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Unknowingly, Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi had already entered the depths of the mountain. In the mountains, ferocious beasts were everywhere. But none of them dared to run out and block the way. Under Hua Yi's terrifying aura, they were all trembling. Behind them, the two old men were also chasing after them. "Are you done?" Hua Yi arched an eyebrow. He simply stopped in the void and turned to look at the two. The two old men glanced at each other. As soon as they got close to Qin Feiyang, they immediately attacked Qin Feiyang without saying a word. "It seems that we were wrong. They released their auras in advance not to inform us, but to provoke us," Hua Yi thought. "Why aren't you leaving?" Qin Feiyang shouted. Although Hua Yi was also a half-step undying, his opponents were two half-step undying experts. He was definitely not their match. Boom! The two of them charged over aggressively. Killing intent flashed in Hua Yi's eyes as he raised both hands. Divine power surged out and blasted towards the two. Qin Feiyang decisively entered the castle. Rumble! The three of them clashed. A destructive aura immediately spread out in all directions with this place as the center. In an instant, the surrounding mountains and rivers collapsed, and the earth caved in. It was like a scene of doomsday. Hua Yi was also sent flying by the two at the same time, blood gushing out of his mouth. But the two of them didn't chase after him. Divine power roared and condensed into a huge ending that enveloped all directions. Immediately, the destructive shockwave was blocked by the spirit formation. They did this to avoid harming the innocent. Then, the two of them spread out and blocked Hua Yi from the front and back. The old man guarding Heaven Cloud Mountain smiled and said, "Little brother, we meet again. Let me introduce myself. This old man is Xiaofan, an idler of Heaven Cloud Mountain." The red-haired old man also said, "This old man is Chou Tianwei, also an idler of the Treasure Pavilion." There was an icy chill in his tone. "Xiaofan, Chou Tianwei." Hua Yi muttered and sneered, "I didn't expect that a half-step undying expert would become a dog of the dragons. You and Qin Feiyang fought against the dragons. You know better than us how strong the dragons are, so you should also know that we have no choice." Xiaofan said. "That's right. We must strictly follow Lord Ancestral Dragon's orders." Chou Tianwei nodded. "Good." Hua Yi nodded and suddenly shouted, "Qin Feiyang, give me a legendary divine artifact." With a clang, the blue phoenix sword appeared. This was the legendary divine artifact that Qin Feiyang had snatched from Feng Zihan. Qin Feiyang had more than one legendary divine artifact now. The blue phoenix sword was only one of them. The giant scythe that he had snatched from the fire dragon in the depths of the Sky Dragon Sea was also a legendary divine artifact. This included the dagger that he had snatched from the law enforcement hall master of Heaven Cloud Mountain. Hua Yi grabbed the hilt and poured his divine power into the blue phoenix sword. Clang! Streaks of world-destroying sharpness gushed out like an avalanche. The barrier that Xiaofan and Chou Tianwei had set up immediately began to twist and crack. Revive the legendary divine artifact. Are you crazy? Xiaofan and Chou Tianwei's expressions changed as they looked at Hua Yi angrily. Hua Yi turned a deaf ear, killing intent flashing in his eyes. "Stop. You're a half-step undying. If you fully revive the legendary divine artifact, everything within 100 million miles will be destroyed." Xiaofan shouted. "What does it have to do with me? If you dare to attack me, then you should have this awareness." Hua Yi sneered. Xiaofan and Chou Tianwei's faces sank. Suddenly, the two withdrew their auras and slowly retreated. Hua Yi was slightly taken aback and laughed. "Seems like you care about the people of East Tomb." Xiaofan said, "Our goal is only you and Qin Feiyang. We don't want to hurt the innocent. I'm afraid that's very difficult to do. After all, once people at our level fight, it's inevitable that innocent people will be hurt. Hua Yi said. Chou Tianwei said angrily, "You're a half-step undying. How can you be so cruel? I don't want to either. But you forced me. What can I do?" Hua Yi shrugged helplessly. "Give up resisting. The dragons are not people you can afford to provoke. Facing the pursuit of the dragons, no matter how much you struggle, you won't have a way out." Shen Qianshan sighed. "That's not necessarily true." Hua Yi smiled contemptuously. "Is that so?" But at this moment, a gloomy voice sounded. Following closely, two terrifying killing intents swept out from the top of Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei's head like lightning, piercing through Hua Yi's lower abdomen. Puff! Hua Yi's face turned pale as he spat out a mouthful of blood. The recovering Azure Phoenix sword also stopped abruptly. And on his lower abdomen, there were two bloody holes. What's going on? Inside the ancient castle. Qin Feiyang looked at this scene in surprise. Why did two killing intents suddenly appear? Wait. This killing intense aura and this voice were very familiar. Hua Yi's face was also filled with shock. He never thought that the two of them would have such terrifying killing intents hidden in their bodies. Who was it that instantly shattered his qi? The next moment, the two killing intents turned into human figures. It was the ancestral dragon of the Black Dragon clan. "I knew that you would come to East Tomb again, so before returning to the Divine Land, I deliberately left behind a few killing intents." The two killing intents looked at Hua Yi and sneered. Chapter 2278. Hua Yi's heart sank. This ancestral dragon was indeed not so easy to deal with. Wait. Why did the ancestral dragon return to the divine continent? Could it be that he went back to get reinforcements? Killing intent, Hua Yi muttered, his eyes flickering. Go to hell. This time, the black-robed old man's killing intent did not give Hua Yi any chance to counterattack. Two killing intents frantically rushed towards Hua Yi. Hua Yi smiled coldly and said, "Just two killing intents, can you overturn the heavens?" He took out a pill and threw it into his mouth. What? Although the pill was like a flash in the pan, it was still clearly captured by Qin Feiyang. It was a spirit sea pill. And it was a spirit sea pill with a dragon-shaped pill qi. In other words, that was a real divine pill. This guy actually had a divine pill? As soon as the spirit sea pill entered Hua Yi's body, it turned into an incomparably majestic energy and rushed towards the broken qi sea. Immediately, the qi sea was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Seeing this, the two killing intents revealed a trace of contempt in their eyes and instantly rushed in front of Hua Yi. Moreover, they were both rushing towards Hua Yi's glabella. Obviously, they wanted to destroy Hua Yi's divine soul in one fell swoop. Humph! Hua Yi snorted coldly as his divine sense rolled out and collided with the two killing intents. His qi sea was not repaired and could not use divine power, so he could only temporarily use his divine sense to delay the two killing intents. But even if it was just two killing intents, it was far from what he could compare to. Boom! His divine sense shattered on the spot. Hua Yi let out a miserable groan and crashed into the ground below like a meteorite. The ground suddenly shattered and collapsed. If it were not for Shen Qianshan's divine power barrier, the surrounding tens of millions of miles would have been razed to the ground in an instant. So strong. Hua Yi lay on the ground in a sorry state, blood spurting out. Even the two killing intents had the strength to shatter his bones. Boom! It was also at this moment. Under the restoration of the divine pill, his qi sea was finally healed. This speed could not be said to be slow. Hua Yi took a deep breath and rushed into the sky. Divine power surged as he used all his strength to revive the azure phoenix sword. Seeing this, Shen Qianshan said in a deep voice, "Old man Chou, you must block their battle fluctuations." Chou Tianwei nodded. The two of them soared into the sky and poured their divine power into the barrier. "Kill!" Hua Yi roared. The azure phoenix sword emitted a dazzling radiance that swept across the heavens and earth. Ant! The two killing intents were filled with disdain as they transformed into two gigantic black swords. They carried a world-destroying sharpness as they shot towards Hua Yi. "Qin Dage, Big Brother Hua Yi's situation is not good." Inside the castle, Fire Lotus had also appeared behind Qin Feiyang at some point in time. Her face was full of worry as she looked at the scene in front of her. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. Although Hua Yi had a fearless appearance on the surface, the truth was that he didn't have a chance of winning. Because that was the killing intent of the ancestral dragon. From this, it could be seen how powerful the ancestral dragon was. Just 2 strands of killing intent were enough to suppress a half-step undying. "I have to think of a way," Qin Feiyang mumbled. But what could he do in the face of an expert of this level? "Wait a minute." Suddenly, his eyes lit up as he shouted, "Fire Lotus, prepare the herbs. Open the furnace and refine the pill." With that, he walked towards the cultivation room. "What pill are you refining?" Fire Lotus hurriedly chased after him. "Heavenly Dust Divine Pill." Qin Feiyang said word by word. The Heavenly Dust Divine Pill could temporarily increase a person's cultivation by a small realm for half an hour. Perhaps when Hua Yi's cultivation reached the initial stage of the Undying Realm, he would have the strength to fight against the two killing intents. And these years, they hadn't been able to harvest any herbs. Especially when they looted the treasury of the city lord's mansion, the herbs they obtained were countless. Among them, there were many herbs for the Heavenly Dust Divine Pill. It was Qin Feiyang's first time refining the Heavenly Dust Divine Pill, so he was especially careful. Because this was related to Hua Yi's safety, he absolutely couldn't fail now. He had to succeed in one go. About 100 breaths later. Whoosh! A pale golden pill was out of the furnace. Qin Feiyang grabbed it with his hand, his face full of smiles. Will this work? After all, Hua Yi has already reached the Undying Realm. Fire Lotus had a doubtful attitude. How will we know if we don't try? It's best to pray that the Heavenly Dust Divine Pill can play a key role. Qin Feiyang muttered and waved his hand. The scene of the battle outside immediately appeared. Hua Yi was covered in wounds. And he had lost an arm. Even the azure phoenix sword was covered in cracks and would shatter at any time. Just 2 killing intents were able to force him to this extent. What cultivation is this ancestral dragon? Initial stage Undying Realm? Or greater stage Undying Realm? Fire Lotus murmured with a face full of disbelief. Qin Feiyang controlled the ancient castle and tried his best to get closer to Hua Yi. Now, it was very difficult for him to even get close to Hua Yi. Because the fluctuations of the battle were too terrifying. Let's see who can save you this time. The 2 killing intents laughed sinisterly and turned into 2 black arrows that shot towards Hua Yi from the left and right. Seeing this scene, Hua Yi couldn't help but feel a sense of powerlessness in his heart. Hua Yi, don't resist. But at this moment, Qin Feiyang's voice sounded in his mind. Next. An invisible force enveloped him. In the next moment, he appeared in the castle. Boom! At the same time, the 2 killing intents arrived and bombarded the castle. The castle suddenly shook violently. Hua Yi looked at Fire Lotus, then looked at Qin Feiyang and frowned. What are you doing? Do you know that this will drag you down with it? Hurry up and take Fire Lotus with you and escape. Qin Feiyang said, What will you do if we escape? Hua Yi swallowed a life divine pill and said, It's just too killing intense, they can't take my life. Don't try to be brave, okay? Looking at you now, are you their opponent? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him, raised his arm and extended it in front of Hua Yi. What? Hua Yi was suspicious. Qin Feiyang opened his big hand, revealing the heavenly dust divine pill, and said, Try consuming it. What kind of pill is this? You won't take this opportunity to harm me, right? Hua Yi looked at him warily. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Qin Feiyang glared at him angrily, and directly stuffed the heavenly dust divine pill into Hua Yi's mouth. Then, Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus stared at Hua Yi, their expressions filled with anticipation. Hua Yi frowned. What was going on? Outside, two killing intents crazily bombarded the ancient castle. The ancient castle trembled violently and rumbled. Everything that Fire Lotus had painstakingly set up was once again destroyed. Above the barrier, Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei stared at the two killing intents, their eyes constantly flickering. Chou Tianwei suddenly sent a sound transmission, Old Shen, do you want to help them? No. For the sake of the big picture, for Eastern Tomb, for Heavenly Cloud Mountain and your treasure pavilion, you must endure. Shen Qianshan decisively replied. Sigh. Chou Tianwei sighed and said, I hope they can escape this calamity. This old man believes that they can definitely do it. Shen Qianshan secretly said. Chapter 2279. In the blink of an eye. Inside the castle. Under the expectant gazes of Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus, Hua Yi's aura suddenly rushed out of his body uncontrollably. Then, it rapidly soared. What's going on? Hua Yi was bewildered. Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus were overjoyed. Because this meant that the heavenly dust divine pill had an effect on the imperishable realm. This was beyond their imagination. One had to know. The imperishable realm was already a peak existence in this world, but the heavenly dust divine pill was still useful. It could be said that the heavenly dust divine pill was a terrifying trump card. Boom! In less than 3 breaths, Hua Yi's aura suddenly soared to an unprecedented high speed. Imperishable realm initial stage. What's going on? Hua Yi was dumbfounded. Qin Feiyang said, You only have half an hour, quickly go out and get rid of the killing intent. Half an hour? Hua Yi was stunned. Qin Feiyang said, If there's a problem, we can talk about it later. All right. Hua Yi temporarily suppressed the doubts in his heart, looked at the scene in the air and said, Send me out. Qin Feiyang nodded. But he suddenly noticed the azure phoenix sword in Hua Yi's hand. The cracks on the azure phoenix sword were like a spider web. It seemed that he couldn't let the azure phoenix sword continue to fight. Otherwise, it might be destroyed. He waved his hand and a red giant scythe appeared. This was the fire dragon's legendary weapon. Without waiting for Qin Feiyang to speak, Hua Yi understood Qin Feiyang's meaning. He put down the azure phoenix sword and grabbed the giant scythe. Let's end this quickly. Qin Feiyang said. Let me tell you, I'm very confident now. If God blocks, I'll kill God. If devil blocks, I'll kill devil. Hua Yi grinned. Qin Feiyang smiled and waved his hand. Hua Yi suddenly disappeared. Damn it! What's the point of hiding? Outside, the two killing intents became angry. If the black-robed old man was here, he would have a way to force Qin Feiyang's group out. They might even destroy the castle. This was because the black-robed old man also possessed a heaven-defying artifact. But now, the two killing intents were more or less powerless against the ancient castle. Of course. However, this did not mean that Qin Feiyang and the others could hide in the castle. Although the killing intent couldn't break open the ancient castle, it could trap it. After all, the ancient castle was still sealed. It could not be awakened, nor could it activate the power of laws. Therefore, he had to get rid of the black-robed old man's killing intent. The most important thing was, through the killing intent, the black-robed old man might have already known what had happened here. Perhaps they were on their way here right now. Once the black-robed old man's true body descended, then no matter how powerful they were, only death awaited them. After playing with you guys for so long, it's time to end it. Suddenly, with a cruel laugh, Hua Yi appeared out of thin air. As soon as Hua Yi appeared, the two killing intents were bewildered. Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei were the same. Their eyes were wide open, full of disbelief. What's going on with his cultivation? Clang! Hua Yi's body shook, and his divine power surged out. The giant scythe in his hand emitted a dazzling light. The sharpness was earth-shattering, terrifying. After his cultivation was raised to the initial stage of the imperishable realm, the awakening of the legendary artifact's power was far greater than before. The divine power enchantment set up by Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei suddenly began to distort and break. The two suddenly changed color. His divine power poured out without reservation. If this wave of energy were to spread out, it would be a scene of utter destruction. Therefore, they must stabilize the divine power enchantment. They also hoped that Hua Yi could end the battle quickly. Because of Hua Yi's soaring cultivation, they could not hold on for long. If your true body was here, even if my cultivation was raised to the initial stage of the imperishable realm, I would only be killed. However, unfortunately, you guys are just two killing intents. Be destroyed for me. Hua Yi let out a long roar, his fiery red hair fluttering in the void, like a demon god. Clang! Accompanied by a loud noise, the giant scythe fully awakened. Hua Yi immediately grabbed the giant scythe and rushed toward the two killing intents. So what if you destroy us? As you said, we are just two killing intents. Our destruction will not cause any harm to my true body. But you are not the same as Qin Feiyang. Because you will die in my hands sooner or later. The two killing intents laughed sinisterly, transforming into two giant black swords, madly slashing forward. Clang! Heaven and earth lost color. The void was annihilated. The divine power enchantment shattered. Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei were also sent flying, blood gushing out of their mouths. Just the fluctuation alone caused them to be seriously injured. This was the difference between a half-step imperishable realm and an initial stage imperishable realm. It could be said that if one did not have a heaven-defying divine art and divine artifact, facing an initial stage imperishable realm expert, a half-step imperishable realm expert would only be killed in an instant. Clang! At the same time, the two giant swords formed by the two killing intents were both shattered and turned into ashes under the sharpness of the giant scythe. Only a sinister laughter was left, echoing between heaven and earth for a long time. This is the strength of an initial stage imperishable realm expert? Hua Yi muttered, his eyes full of shock. Yes. Even he himself was shocked by his current strength. Although the half-step imperishable realm and the initial stage imperishable realm were only one step apart, this step was like one was the sky and the other was the earth. They were not on the same level at all. After experiencing the power of an initial stage imperishable realm expert, he also yearned for this realm like never before. Hua Yi, hurry and help. Suddenly, Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei shouted. Hua Yi quivered and came back to his senses. He raised his head to look at the two, only to see them scanning the surrounding mountains and rivers, their faces full of anxiety. Seeing this, Hua Yi also quickly swept his gaze around, and his face immediately changed. When the divine power enchantment shattered, the fluctuations of the battle were now ruthlessly destroying everything. Seeing this situation, he quickly waved his hand, and divine power surged, sweeping across the sky. A giant enchantment crashed to the ground. At that moment, all the fluctuations of the battle were trapped inside the enchantment. Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei finally breathed a sigh of relief. But at this moment, Hua Yi took a step forward, leaving the enchantment, and landed in front of the two. The giant scythe in his hand pointed at the two. That world-destroying edge made Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei tremble uncontrollably. Obviously, he wanted to attack the two of them. Wait! But at this moment, Qin Feiyang appeared beside Hua Yi and grabbed Hua Yi's arm. What are you doing? Hua Yi frowned. Don't be impulsive. Qin Feiyang whispered, looked up at Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei, and said, Seniors, we need an explanation. The two looked at each other and could not help but smile bitterly. Hua Yi raised his eyebrows, lowered his arm, and asked, is it because of the ancestral dragon's killing intent? Yes. Shen Qianshan nodded. In other words, you really want to help us, but because of the ancestral dragon's killing intent, you have no choice but to attack us? Qin Feiyang said. Yes. His killing intent has been lurking in our sea of consciousness. In other words, our every move is under his surveillance. If we don't attack you, then not only will we suffer, even Heavenly Cloud Mountain and the Treasure Pavilion will be implicated. Chapter 2280. Hua Yi nodded and threw the giant scythe to Qin Feiyang. He looked at Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei and smiled. Sorry, I misunderstood you. It's fine. It's human nature. At the same time, I have to congratulate you for breaking through to the imperishable realm. Shen Qianshan smiled. Hua Yi shook his head. I don't think I broke through. What do you mean? Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei looked at each other and suspiciously looked at Hua Yi. I don't know what's going on. This matter, you have to ask him. Hua Yi looked at Qin Feiyang. Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei were slightly stunned, and their gazes immediately shifted to Qin Feiyang. Luck. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Luck? Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei looked at each other, completely unable to understand the meaning of Qin Feiyang's words. Qin Feiyang looked at the two suspiciously and said, Seniors, I'm very curious. Why are you helping us? Chou Tianwei said, it's because of the Pavilion Master's orders. As expected. Qin Feiyang whispered. We already know what you've done in the northern region. To be honest, this old man has lived for so many years, and I've never met such great young people like you. A trace of admiration appeared on Chou Tianwei's indifferent face. Yes. For Jiutian Palace, for the Treasure Pavilion, you've sacrificed so much. It's really admirable. Shen Qianshan also praised. Great, admirable, this junior really doesn't deserve it. Because we were the ones who attracted the dragons. We have this responsibility and this obligation to protect everyone. Qin Feiyang said. Hey, hey, hey. Can you not count me in? I'm just a victim who was dragged down by you. Hua Yi said unhappily. Qin Feiyang looked at Hua Yi speechlessly and said, You make it sound like I forced you. You were the one who forced me. Hua Yi pouted. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. He didn't feel like wasting words with him. He looked at Shen Qianshan and said, Then do your Heaven Cloud Mountain's Peak Master, Vice Peak Masters, and those elders know about us? I haven't told them yet. I'm also hesitating. Should I tell them? Shen Qianshan said. Qin Feiyang asked, how do you know? He was the one who told me. Shen Qianshan pointed at Chou Tianwei. Qin Feiyang nodded and bowed, thank you again, seniors. No. To be honest, we still feel a little guilty. Yeah. Not only did we not help you, we almost got you killed. The two of them apologized. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, this junior is already very satisfied that the two seniors have such intentions. Shen Qianshan said, then tell me, should I tell the Peak Master and the others? Let's not talk about it. Especially Su Mo, I'm worried that he will leak information to the dragons in order to take revenge on me. At that time, it won't just be us. 9 Heavens Palace, Treasure Pavilion, and you will all suffer together. Qin Feiyang said. Shen Qianshan nodded. It made sense. In short, I don't want to implicate anyone in the grudge between me and the dragons. Qin Feiyang smiled. These words once again made Shen Qianshan and Hua Yi look at him in a different light. Chou Tianwei said, as the Vice Pavilion Master of the North said, you are indeed a loyal and responsible young man. You flatter me. Qin Feiyang quickly waved his hand. Shen Qianshan smiled and said, modesty is a good thing, but too much modesty is arrogance. Qin Feiyang scratched his head and smiled embarrassedly. Shen Qianshan shook his head and sighed. But then again, I don't dare to tell the Peak Master and the others about you. Why? Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi looked at him suspiciously. Shen Qianshan said, because the ancestral dragon left more than 2 killing intents in Dongling. What? Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi were shocked. Shen Qianshan sighed. All the half-step invincible realm cultivators in Dongling have 1 killing intent in them. This, Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi looked at each other. In other words, whether it's Heaven Cloud Mountain or the Treasure Pavilion, we are all under the ancestral dragon surveillance. Shen Qianshan said. Qin Feiyang asked, then how many killing intents are left in Dongling? 3. They are in the bodies of the Peak Master, the Vice Peak Master, and the Treasure Pavilion Master. Shen Qianshan said. Chou Tianwei said, so now, don't go to our Pavilion Master. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel a lingering fear after hearing this. Fortunately, he knew this in advance. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Hua Yi asked, do the people of 9 Heavens Palace and the Treasure Pavilion know about this? They don't know yet. Because our every move is under the surveillance of the killing intents, no one dares to report to the northern region. Shen Qianshan said. Hua Yi turned to Qin Feiyang and said, then it seems that we have to go back to the northern region. Qin Feiyang nodded. You don't have to worry about this. That's right. Now, the killing intents that are monitoring us have been removed by you. So old Shen and I can find a chance to go to the northern region. Shen Qianshan and Hua Yi said. Hua Yi frowned and looked at Qin Feiyang. How about this, we chase after them and remove the other 3 killing intents? No. Before Qin Feiyang could speak, Shen Qianshan and Hua Yi shook their heads. Why not? Hua Yi was suspicious. Only we know about the existence of these killing intents. If you go to the Peak Master and the others now, what do you think the ancestral dragon will think? He will definitely suspect that we said it. Shen Qianshan said. This is simple. Hua Yi chuckled. What do you mean? Shen Qianshan and Hua Yi were suspicious. Hua Yi smiled and said, you didn't take the initiative to tell us this. We forced you to say it. Forced us to say it? The two frowned and thought for a while. They suddenly understood. However, you have to suffer a little. Hua Yi said again. Shen Qianshan smiled and said, if we can really get rid of the killing intents, it's okay to suffer a little. I don't agree. But at this moment, Qin Feiyang, who had been silent all this time, suddenly shook his head. The three of them looked at Qin Feiyang. It's just 3 killing intents. There's no need to go through so much trouble. And even if we get rid of them, what can we do? Can we bring actual harm to the ancestral dragon? No. So, there's no need to waste this energy. There's one more crucial point. With these killing intents, the ancestral dragon will think that everything is under his control. In this way, he will relax a little. And once we get rid of all the killing intents, he will definitely use other means. And he will be more careful and cautious than before. At that time, our situation may be even more passive. Qin Feiyang said. Hearing this, Shen Qianshan and Hua Yi pondered for a while and nodded. That makes sense. Let's not touch these 3 killing intents first. All right. Chapter 2281. Then we won't stay any longer. We'll go back first. After we go back, I'll find an opportunity to go to the north region. Shen Qianshan said. Indeed, we can't stay any longer. Otherwise, the other 3 killing intents will definitely be suspicious. Zhou Tianwei said. Qin Feiyang asked, then, have you thought of how to deal with them? That's simple. The two smiled confidently. All right then. Qin Feiyang nodded. The two turned and left. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly called out, Senior Shen, wait a moment. The two stopped in the air and turned to look at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang flew over and looked at Shen Qianshan. I suddenly thought of something and would like to ask Senior Shen for help. What is it? Shen Qianshan was puzzled. Senior, do you know a person called Ouyang Wenyi? Qin Feiyang asked. Ouyang Wenyi, Shen Qianshan pondered for a moment and nodded. I've heard of him, but I don't have any impression of him. Qin Feiyang said, he was once the #1 person on the Heavenly Cloud Mountain leaderboard and is now a core disciple of the Heavenly Cloud Mountain. If it's the #1 person on the Heaven leaderboard, I'll definitely be familiar with him. But the #1 person on the Earth leaderboard, to be honest, I've never paid attention to the Earth leaderboard. Shen Qianshan said apologetically. Qin Feiyang said, Senior, can you help me find this person and tell him that I'll be waiting for him at the Heaven Immortal Tower? Is he very important to you? Shen Qianshan was suspicious. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. All right. When we return from the North region, I'll help you look for him. In order to facilitate communication, we'll also establish a contract bridge. Shen Qianshan took out an image crystal. My pleasure. Qin Feiyang also hurriedly took out an image crystal. For an expert like Shen Qianshan, it was difficult to speak normally, let alone establish a contract bridge. This was an honor for any young man. After establishing the contract bridge, Shen Qianshan turned to look at Zhou Tianwei and said, Old Zhou, establish a contract bridge with him as well, just in case. Yes. Zhou Tianwei nodded. Qin Feiyang naturally couldn't ask for more. Because in this way, he would gain 2 half-step undying allies. After establishing the contract with the Zhou Tianwei, Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal, cupped his hands and smiled, Take care, seniors. I won't see you off. Until we meet again. The two of them also cupped their hands and smiled in a rather courteous manner. Then, they turned around and tore through the air with lightning speed. Hua Yi retracted his gaze and suspiciously looked at Qin Feiyang. He asked, Who is Ouyang Wenyi? Fiend ancestor. Qin Feiyang said. So it was him. Hua Yi suddenly understood. Actually, I don't know if Ouyang Wenyi is his real name. It's just that when I read the memories of that disciple from Heaven Cloud Mountain, I learned that he was using this name. Qin Feiyang said. Aren't you old acquaintances with him? Why don't I know his real name? Hua Yi was astonished. Because in the past, we all called him Fiend Ancestor. I've never heard anyone say his real name. Qin Feiyang said. I see. Hua Yi nodded, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Now, tell me, what's going on with my cultivation? Qin Feiyang briefly explained the situation of the heavenly dust divine pill. What? There's actually such a pill in this world? Hua Yi was dumbfounded when he heard this. This was too miraculous. Qin Feiyang said, Speaking of pills, I want to ask you, where did you get that divine pill? Divine pill? Really? Why don't I know about it? Hua Yi said. Pretending and pretending? The spirit sea pill you took, if it's not a divine pill, then what is it? Qin Feiyang said angrily. You saw it. Hua Yi smiled embarrassedly. I'm not blind. Qin Feiyang glared at him fiercely. Hua Yi said, I got this divine pill by chance. Why didn't I have this chance? Qin Feiyang sneered. Is there even a need to say it? It must be because my character is better than yours. Hua Yi despised. Your character is better? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. Let's not talk about this first. This heavenly dust divine pill, how many do you have now? Also, is there any limit to it? Hua Yi asked with a bright light in his eyes. What do you want to do? Qin Feiyang looked at him warily. I don't want to do anything. I just want to prepare a few in case of an emergency. Hua Yi smiled. In your dreams. This heavenly dust divine pill's medicinal herbs are more precious than the 4 symbols infinite divine pill. Yesterday, fire lotus and I counted. After being in the ancient world for so long, we only managed to gather 3 sets of medicinal herbs. I just gave you 1. In other words, I only have 2 sets of medicinal herbs left. Qin Feiyang said. Hua Yi was stunned and asked, including the city lord mansion's treasury? Qin Feiyang nodded. Isn't this too outrageous? All these years, you have killed and robbed many people. Including the city lord mansion's treasury, you only managed to gather 3 sets of medicinal herbs? Hua Yi's face was filled with disbelief. Wait, Qin Feiyang hurriedly reached out to interrupt Hua Yi and frowned. When did I kill and rob people? Think about it yourself. How many people have you killed and how many universe rings and universe bags have you obtained? Hua Yi said. Qin Feiyang said angrily, they deserve to be killed. Are they also killing and robbing people? What's the difference? Hua Yi asked. Fine. I won't argue with you. Let's go to the castle first. Let me see how strong the side effects of this heavenly dust divine pill are. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he disappeared with Hua Yi. Although the heavenly dust divine pill was heaven-defying, it had a fatal side effect. After the effect of the pill was over, he would enter a weakened state. However, as he had never taken it before, he was not sure how weak he would be. In the future, he would inevitably have to take the heavenly dust divine pill. Hence, he wanted to take a look in advance to be mentally prepared. In the sky above a certain mountain, Shen Qianshan and Hua Yi were moving as fast as lightning. Chou Tianwei said, I really did not expect that Hua Yi's cultivation would suddenly increase to the undying realm. Yes. If his cultivation did not increase, they will definitely be in trouble this time. I just don't know what they have done. Shen Qianshan's face was filled with suspicion. Chou Tianwei suddenly stopped and looked at Shen Qianshan. He asked, did you notice a problem? What problem? Shen Qianshan asked curiously. When Hua Yi was fighting with the killing intent, he did not activate his fighting soul or use his divine art. Chou Tianwei frowned. Shen Qianshan was slightly stunned. After thinking for a while, he nodded and said, "It seems to be the case." Why did he not use his divine art when his life was at stake? Could he be hiding something? Chou Tianwei muttered. Shen Qianshan pondered for a while and asked, could he be hiding his identity? Hiding his identity, Chou Tianwei murmured and nodded. This is the only explanation. Who is this Hua Yi? Even the Nine Heavens Palace and the Treasure Pavilion in the North region do not know his identity. Shen Qianshan smiled and said, there is no need to think so much. As long as he is not an enemy. That's true. This Qin Feiyang is still too weak. He has to grow up quickly. I also hope that we have made the right choice. Otherwise, we will become the sinners of the Eastern Tomb. Chou Tianwei said worriedly. We have to believe in him. Moreover, isn't there still Qin Badian? Qin Feiyang can't do it, but I believe that Qin Badian can do it. Shen Qianshan smiled. I hope so. Chou Tianwei sighed. Then. The two looked at each other and slapped their lower abdomens at the same time. Boom! Their qi was shattered. Their lower abdomens were also badly mutilated. This was not the end. They each cut off an arm, and then used their divine power to cut open countless wounds on their bodies so deep that their bones could be seen. After a while, the two of them were dripping with blood. The intense pain caused their faces to turn pale. After doing all this, the two of them continued to fly toward Heavenly Cloud Mountain. Chapter 2282. Half an hour later. Ancient Castle. Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus stood in the hall, looking at Hua Yi with a stunned expression. They saw Hua Yi lying on the ground, his whole body twitching. His face was also pale, as if he was in a critical state. They couldn't sense any cultivation or aura from his body. This is the side effect of the Heavenly Dust Divine Pill? Fire Lotus whispered. This was too terrifying. With Hua Yi's current state, even a person without the strength to truss a chicken could easily kill him. Kid, you're not pretending, right? Qin Feiyang looked at Hua Yi and frowned. Wasn't this side effect a little too ridiculous? Pretending? When Hua Yi heard this, a trace of anger appeared on his pale face. But it seemed that he didn't even have the strength to speak. It seems that you're not pretending. Qin Feiyang muttered. Hua Yi rolled his eyes. What was there to pretend about such a shameful thing? Qin Feiyang said, all right, you just lie here and have a good rest. After half an hour, the side effect will disappear. What? It will take another half an hour for the side effect to disappear? Hua Yi couldn't help but curse in his heart. If he didn't know the truth, he would have suspected that Qin Feiyang was deliberately harming him. Qin Feiyang smiled, I'll go to the Heaven Immortal Tower first. Let me know when you're done, I'll treat you to some heavenly immortal wine. That's more like it. A smile appeared on Hua Yi's face. Thinking of the heavenly immortal wine, he couldn't help but drool. However, could this kid get the heavenly immortal wine? The heavenly immortal wine was never for sale. Then I'll go out. Qin Feiyang said and prepared to leave the castle. I say, don't ignore me. When I go out, I must see the heavenly immortal wine. Otherwise, I won't let you off. Hua Yi opened his mouth and said intermittently. I'm just joking, do you really take it seriously? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Hua Yi was so angry that his body trembled. Alright, I'll definitely think of a way to get you a pot. Qin Feiyang hurriedly comforted him. 2 pots. Hua Yi said. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He said angrily, I said, don't push your luck. Who did I end up in such a sorry state because of? I didn't ask you to do anything outrageous. It's just 2 pots of celestial immortal wine, and you're saying that I'm insatiable? Do you have a conscience? Hua Yi angrily said. Fine, fine, fine. I'm afraid of you. I'll do my best. Qin Feiyang looked at him helplessly and took out an illusory form elixir to disguise himself as a sickly young man. He left the ancient castle and headed towards Tianluo City. Hey, do you guys know? An hour ago, Heaven Cloud Mountain and the Treasure Pavilion sent out 2 half-step undying experts to hunt down Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. But guess what happened? Those 2 half-step undying experts had their Sea of Qi destroyed by Hua Yi and Qin Feiyang. They fled back in a sorry state. No way. 2 half-step undying sovereigns are still not their match. I just came to Tianluo City, so I didn't know about this. Is what you said true? Of course it's true. The son of a friend of mine is an inner disciple of Heaven Cloud Mountain. He saw those 2 enter Heaven Cloud Mountain covered in blood. Then who are those 2 half-step undying experts? I think they're called Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei. Not only did their Sea of Qi shatter, but they also lost an arm. What a sorry state. Unbelievable. How strong are Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi? Didn't they say that Qin Feiyang is only a low-level divine lord? Qin Feiyang is indeed a low-level divine lord, but that Hua Yi is a half-step undying expert. He's too terrifying. But this Qin Feiyang isn't that simple. That's true. If he's just a simple character, how could Hua Yi, a half-step undying expert, be so close to him? There was a long line at each of the 4 city gates of Tianluo City. Everyone who entered or left the city had to be checked by the Heaven's Eye Stone. This was an order from Heaven Cloud Mountain and the Treasure Pavilion. Their purpose was naturally to find Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. Everyone was waiting in line to be checked while discussing. At the back of the crowd, there was a sickly youth with a pale face. This person was Qin Feiyang. Hearing everyone's discussion, he was extremely moved. He never imagined that in order to cover him and Hua Yi, Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei would actually lose an arm. Next, on both sides of the city gate, 4 guards strictly carried out the orders of Heaven Cloud Mountain and the Treasure Pavilion, not letting anyone go. Qin Feiyang looked up and couldn't help but frown. It was almost impossible to use the Heaven's Eye Stone to check them. It seemed that he could only directly teleport in or use the Black Tortoise World or fly in. Wait! Suddenly, Qin Feiyang looked up at the city gate and his pupils suddenly shrank. He saw an old man sitting on the city wall. The old man was dressed in black and his aura was unfathomable. And on the old man's clothes, there was a mountain-like pattern. Obviously, this old man was from Heaven Cloud Mountain. They actually sent such an expert to guard Tianluo City. Qin Feiyang mumbled. He left quietly and headed to the other 3 city gates to check. As expected, the other 3 city gates were each guarded by an expert from Heaven Cloud Mountain. It seemed that Heaven Cloud Mountain was serious. One must know. In the past few years in the northern region, even if the ancestral dragon personally came, 9 Heavens Palace and the Treasure Pavilion did not send any experts to guard Tianlong City. Heaven Cloud Mountain was more proactive than anyone. Retreating deep into the mountains, Qin Feiyang opened an altar and directly teleported to the vicinity of the Heaven Immortal Tower. Although only a day had passed, the Heaven Immortal Tower that was destroyed by Hua Yi had been rebuilt and was even more imposing than before. The surrounding buildings and the city lord's manor were also rebuilt. Young master, please come in. Under the lead of a waiter, Qin Feiyang walked into the Heaven Immortal Tower. Yesterday's incident did not affect the Heaven Immortal Tower at all. It was as lively as ever. Whether it was the hall or the private rooms upstairs, it was filled with laughter. Qin Feiyang sat in an inconspicuous corner of the hall and ordered 2 side dishes and a pot of wine. Because he had changed his appearance, no one disturbed him and it was quiet. Time passed bit by bit. In the evening, the Heaven Immortal Tower was undoubtedly even more lively. Those who came in to eat and drink had to queue up. And most of them were from wealthy families. Because at night, this was a paradise for men to seek pleasure. Every man had a beautiful woman by his side to accompany him. Qin Feiyang was the only one who was always alone. "Young master, do you need me to accompany you?" Night fell. A gorgeously dressed and alluring woman walked to Qin Feiyang's table. She held a wine cup and looked at Qin Feiyang with seductive eyes. "It's quite comfortable to be alone." "Thank you." Qin Feiyang politely rejected the woman. "How boring. Look, in the entire Heaven Immortal Tower, only you don't have a female companion. How eye-catching." The woman glanced at Qin Feiyang with disdain. She then turned and walked away, swaying her hips. "Eye-catching," Qin Feiyang mumbled and looked around. Compared to the others, he was indeed eye-catching. Because in the entire hall, his table was the quietest. It was easy to attract the attention of others. "Miss, hold on." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed as he looked at the woman's back. The woman was stunned. She turned and looked at Qin Feiyang. "Young master, are you calling me?" "Emichem," Qin Feiyang nodded. He pointed to the seat opposite him and smiled. "Sit down and chat with me for a while." The woman smiled charmingly, but she didn't sit opposite Qin Feiyang. Instead, she sat beside Qin Feiyang. Moreover, she was very close to him. Her entire body was almost sticking to Qin Feiyang's body. "Young master, after being in the Heaven Immortal Tower for so many years, this is the first time I've heard someone call us miss. You are so innocent. Could it be that this is your first time here?" The woman curiously looked at Qin Feiyang. Cough cough. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly and speechlessly said, "This is me showing my respect to you." Respect? The woman was astonished. She actually took the initiative to hug Qin Feiyang's arm and smiled. "You are really a special man." Cough cough. You better sit opposite me." Qin Feiyang felt somewhat uncomfortable. It wasn't because this woman was a prostitute. It was because he was really not used to such an indulgent life. All right. You are a guest. It's fine as long as you are satisfied." The woman shook her head and smiled. She got up and sat opposite him. She held her chin with both hands and sized up Qin Feiyang. Other men would have their hands on a woman like her when they saw her. But this man didn't have any thoughts at all. What a freak. Qin Feiyang didn't pay any attention to him and continued to drink. Suddenly, the woman opened her mouth and asked very seriously, "Young master, do you have kidney deficiency?" Qin Feiyang almost spat out. Kidney deficiency? What the hell was this? I'm sorry, the woman hurriedly apologized, but her cheeks were red. She wanted to laugh but didn't dare to. Qin Feiyang helplessly shook his head and said, "I will give you 100 million divine crystals. Just sit there quietly, 100 million. The woman's eyes immediately lit up. So he was a rich man? However, this person looked sick and his appearance and clothes were ordinary. He didn't look like a rich person. Could it be that he was ignoring her? Qin Feiyang didn't speak again. 100 million divine crystals was just a drop in the ocean for him. Yesterday, when he and Fire Lotus counted the treasures in the City Lord's mansion's treasure vault, he was also shocked. There were as many as 100 billion divine crystals in the treasure vault. There were also more than 10 billion soul stones. There were countless medicinal herbs, divine weapons, and divine arts. For example, there were hundreds of supreme-grade divine weapons and perfect divine arts. The only regret was that there were no peak-grade divine weapons and peak-grade divine arts. Although there were no peak-grade divine weapons and divine arts, if he sold these divine weapons and divine arts, it would still be a considerable amount of wealth. So, he planned to find time to return to the northern region and sell all these things to the treasure pavilion. Because these things weren't of much value to him, he might as well exchange them for divine crystals. Why did he exchange them for divine crystals and not soul stones? Because right now, what he wanted the most was divine crystals. Chapter 2283. If it was in the past, Qin Feiyang would definitely choose the soul stone without hesitation. Because the soul stone was the key to cultivation. But it was different now. After learning about the situation of the Black Tortoise world from the little boy, he began to plan in his heart. The growth process of the Black Tortoise world was very slow. But if there were a large number of crystal veins and divine crystals, it could accelerate the growth of the Black Tortoise world. And the divine crystals could also nurture spirit veins. Although he didn't have a spirit vein that truly belonged to him now, it was hard to guarantee that he wouldn't have one in the future. So he had to plan ahead and make preparations in advance. Of course. It was also because the soul stones he had now were enough for a long time. Because everyone had gone to the divine land, only he and the white-eyed wolf were left. Naturally, the soul stones weren't so tight. Dong! Suddenly, a bell rang in the Heaven Immortal Tower. Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked up. The bell came from the top floor of the Heaven Immortal Tower. Why was there a bell ringing for no reason? At the same time, everyone in the hall raised their heads and looked at the top floor. Their eyes were filled with bewilderment. Even the people in the private rooms upstairs walked out one by one. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang was even more puzzled. He looked at the woman sitting opposite him and asked, "What's going on?" "It's very strange." The woman whispered. "What's strange?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. The woman frowned and said, "This bell only rings at the beginning of every month. Why is it ringing now?" "It only rings at the beginning of the month?" "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang was even more puzzled. The woman seemed to have come back to her senses and looked at Qin Feiyang, asking, "You don't know?" Qin Feiyang shook his head. "You're really a weirdo. Anyone who has stayed in Heaven Immortal City knows the meaning of the bell ringing." The woman said. Qin Feiyang was speechless. "It's my first time in Heaven Immortal City. Isn't it normal that I don't know?" "First time?" The woman was stunned and said with a smile, "Then you're really lucky. Make it clear in one go." Qin Feiyang frowned. The woman asked, "Do you know that our Heaven Immortal Tower has a type of supreme divine wine called the Heavenly Immortal Wine?" "I've heard of it." Qin Feiyang nodded. "This celestial immortal wine is only auctioned once a month. Every time, one pot will go to the highest bidder. This bell is the precursor to the auction of the celestial immortal wine." The woman smiled. Qin Feiyang said, "In other words, the immortal wine will be auctioned soon?" "Yes." The woman replied. Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked suspiciously, "Why did I hear that the auction won't start until the beginning of the month?" The woman said, "That's why I find it strange too. It's not even the beginning of the month yet." Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. Why did the Heaven Immortal Tower want to auction the Heavenly Immortal Wine in advance? However, this was truly a timely reign at the right time. Earlier, he was still thinking about how to get his hands on the celestial immortal wine. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to explain himself to Hua Yi. The woman sized up Qin Feiyang for a moment and asked, "Young master, do you want to participate in the auction as well?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. The woman said, "I advise young master not to participate." "Why?" Qin Feiyang looked at her suspiciously. Those who participate in the auction of the celestial immortal wine are basically all big shots in East Tomb. Every one of them is extremely generous. You won't be able to compete with them in such a competition. The woman said. Is that so? Qin Feiyang didn't think much of it. Don't doubt me. There's still the most important point. The woman said again. What is it? Qin Feiyang was curious. The woman got up and sat beside Qin Feiyang, saying in a low voice, the most important thing is actually those playboys. Playboys? Qin Feiyang frowned. Yes. I think you're more innocent, so I'm telling you this. Those playboys actually don't want the celestial immortal wine, but Miss Celestial Immortal. The woman said in a low voice. Miss Celestial Immortal, Qin Feiyang muttered. This Miss Celestial Immortal is the Tower Master of our Heaven Immortal Tower. She rarely shows herself. Not only is she beautiful, but her family background is also unparalleled. So, many playboys in Heaven Luo City are drooling over her. Even the heaven-ranking disciples of Skycloud Mountain regard her as their dream lover. The woman said. So that's the case. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood and said, in other words, they came to bid for the celestial immortal wine purely to curry favor with this Miss Celestial Immortal? Yes. The woman nodded. Qin Feiyang asked curiously, then what's the background of this Miss Celestial Immortal? Miss Celestial Immortal's background is very big. She's the granddaughter of the Treasure Pavilion's Tower Master. The woman said in a low voice. Qin Feiyang was stunned. So she was the granddaughter of the white-haired old woman. No wonder even the heaven-ranking disciples of Skycloud Mountain wanted to curry favor with her. The Treasure Pavilion was a colossus that was even more terrifying than the Nine Heavens Palace and Skycloud Mountain. If one could marry the granddaughter of the Treasure Pavilion's Tower Master, they would soar to the sky and reach the peak of their life. Who wouldn't want such an opportunity? The woman smiled and said, so don't participate in it, lest you offend those people. Thank you for telling me. Qin Feiyang smiled. The woman hugged Qin Feiyang's arm and said, young master is really smart. Why don't you let me accompany you tonight? Stop, stop. Qin Feiyang hurriedly said. The woman was stunned and said, young master, you can't really have a kidney, cough, cough. Qin Feiyang choked again and said helplessly, I admit, a little, so you can just accompany me. It's okay. Because I have a way to make you lively again. The woman smiled ambiguously. Qin Feiyang was speechless. He thought that this woman would stop after admitting it, but he didn't expect her actions to be even more daring. Young Master Li is here. Young Master Wang is here. Young Master Yun is here. Young Master Mo is here. Not long later. 4 young men walked into the Heaven Immortal Tower under the escort of a group of guards. They are the young masters of the 4 great clans of Heaven Luo City. The woman sat beside Qin Feiyang and explained. They came so quickly? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Of course. The richest people of the Heaven Immortal Tower are these hedonistic young masters of the great clans. So every time the heavenly immortal wine is auctioned, the manager of the Heaven Immortal Tower will immediately send them a message. The woman said. That's true. With these people, the heavenly immortal wine can be auctioned for a higher price. Qin Feiyang nodded. The woman said, and they have their own VIP rooms in the Heaven Immortal Tower. Their own? Qin Feiyang was stunned. It's the VIP rooms that the Heaven Immortal Tower specially set up for them. The top 10 heaven-ranking disciples of the Heaven Cloud Mountain also have them. They are all on the top floor. The woman said in a low voice. Qin Feiyang said in surprise, they have such treatment. Of course. The 4 great clans are rich. The heaven-ranking disciples might not be as rich as them, but they have good talent. Each of them is a monster in the Eastern tomb. The Heaven Immortal Tower naturally has to give them special treatment. Other than them, there are also a few people with power and influence who also have their own VIP rooms. The woman said. Qin Feiyang shook his head. It seems that the Heaven Immortal Tower is quite snobbish. Which business person isn't snobbish? The woman pouted. Qin Feiyang smiled and didn't say anything else. He looked at the four young masters. The four of them had arrogant looks on their faces. They didn't care about the people in the hall and directly headed to the top floor. Subsequently, many people rushed over. They were basically all young people. They wore gorgeous clothes and had an extraordinary aura. Behind them, there were also small followers. However, compared to the four young masters in front, they seemed much more humble. Other than the exclusive VIP rooms, the rest were already full. So no matter what their identity or background was, they could only stand in the hall or the corridor upstairs. Why don't I see any heaven-ranking disciples? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. There were quite a number of Heaven Cloud Mountain disciples. But he didn't see any heaven-ranking disciples. These heaven-ranking disciples have always liked to pretend to be mysterious, so they won't come in through the door. Usually, they will be directly teleported to their exclusive VIP rooms. Now, they might already be sitting in the VIP rooms. The woman said. That's true. Qin Feiyang nodded his head. Thinking back to when he stayed in the Nine Heavens Palace for so long, he only saw Feng Zihan and Wuxia. As for the other 8, he didn't even know their names, let alone their looks. Brother, your side is still empty. Can I sit here? Suddenly, a purple-robed youth walked to Qin Feiyang's side and said with a smile. Because the woman was now sitting beside Qin Feiyang, the opposite side was empty. Qin Feiyang was stunned and raised his head to look at the youth. The youth was about 1.8 meters tall and had a dignified appearance. He had an extraordinary aura and a gentle smile on his face, looking very sunny. Don't worry, I won't disturb you. And in order to express my gratitude, I will pay for all your expenses in the Heaven Immortal Tower today. The purple-robed youth smiled. Qin Feiyang glanced at the woman beside him and then at the purple-robed youth. He smiled and asked, Is that so? You must keep your word. The purple-robed youth patted his chest and said. All right, have a seat. Qin Feiyang nodded his head. Thank you. The purple-robed youth smiled gratefully. Such things were happening in the entire Heaven Immortal Tower at this moment. Because the people who came later didn't have seats. But some people didn't want to stand, so they went to find others to squeeze in. Aren't you young Master Zhang? The woman sized up the purple-robed youth and asked in surprise. Miss, you are? The purple-robed youth looked at the woman suspiciously. In the past, I even accompanied young Master Zhang to drink a few times. But young Master Zhang is a person of high status and has a short memory. It's normal that you don't remember. The woman said. I see. The purple-robed youth immediately understood. This woman wasn't Qin Feiyang's close female friend. She was just a temporary companion. The purple-robed youth looked at Qin Feiyang and cupped his hands. I'm Zhang Xiaoyang. May I know your name, brother? Pai Lupi. Qin Feiyang casually thought of a name. The purple-robed youth said, Brotherly looks a little unfamiliar. You shouldn't be someone from Heaven Luo City, right? This is my first time here. Qin Feiyang said. I see. The purple-robed youth nodded and didn't say anything else. He raised his head and looked at the highest level, his eyes filled with anticipation. Chapter 2284. The woman asked, "Young master, do you know about Zhang Xiaoyang's family background?" "I'm not sure." Qin Feiyang shook his head. Zhang Xiaoyang's family is also very amazing, second only to the four major families in Heaven Luo City. However, Zhang Xiaoyang is not a direct descendant of the Zhang family, so his status in the Zhang family is not very high. The woman secretly said. "Why are you telling me this?" Qin Feiyang looked at her suspiciously. Although Zhang Xiaoyang's status is not high, he is after all a member of the Zhang family. If young master wants to establish a foothold in Heaven Luo City, you can make friends with him. The woman said. Qin Feiyang was stunned. She actually helped him find a way out? Isn't this woman a little too kind-hearted? The woman seemed to have seen through Qin Feiyang's doubts and secretly laughed. "I can't possibly earn your 100 million divine crystals for free." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. This woman was quite interesting. Dong! At this moment, the bell rang again. The entire Heaven Immortal Tower instantly fell into dead silence. "It has finally begun," Zhang Xiaoyang murmured. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and looked at Zhang Xiaoyang suspiciously. Did he want the immortal wine so much? Creak. On the top floor, one of the doors opened and a middle-aged man walked out in large strides. It was the steward of the Heaven Immortal Tower. The steward turned around and closed the door. Walking to the corridor, he glanced at everyone and smiled. "I believe everyone is very puzzled at this moment. Why are we auctioning the immortal wine in advance?" Everyone nodded. "Actually, I don't know either. This is the tower head's order, I'm just following it. And this time, we are auctioning 10 bottles of immortal wine at once." The steward said. "What? 10 bottles?" Everyone was dumbfounded. Auctioning 10 bottles at once, this was the first time this had happened. The steward smiled. "Why don't you talk nonsense? Same old rules, the highest bidder wins. Let's begin. 1 million. 2 million. 5 million. 10 million. As soon as the steward's voice fell, the voices of people calling out bids continuously. All of them seemed to have gone crazy. 10 bottles, this is a bit over the budget. Zhang Xiaoyang looked at the steward, his brows tightly furrowed. Qin was also surprised. How many bottles does the Heaven Immortal Tower usually auctions? 1 bottle. It's never more than 2 bottles. Before the woman could answer, Zhang Xiaoyang spoke first. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, "Then why are you taking out 10 pots to auction this time?" "I don't know." Zhang Xiaoyang and the woman shook their heads at the same time. They were also puzzled. "Don't care so much about why. Today, you must get me all 10 bottles of immortal wine." Hua Yi's voice resounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. "If I go out, I'll have to pay the bill myself. Wouldn't that be too convenient for you?" Hua Yi snickered. Qin Feiyang's face darkened, and he said disdainfully, "You're a half-step Undying Realm expert. You actually hid in the castle for such a small profit. Don't you feel ashamed? Don't provoke me. It's useless." Hua Yi said indifferently. "Fine. I'll keep my word. I'll treat you to a drink. But I still feel that this matter is a bit unusual." Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. "How is it unusual?" Hua Yi was suspicious. "Think about it. Why did the Heaven Immortal Tower change the previous rules and auction it today? And 10 bottles at once?" Qin Feiyang pondered. "Hearing you say that, it's a bit strange. I feel that the Heaven Immortal Tower did it deliberately." Hua Yi said. Qin Feiyang said, "And I feel that this is a bait." "Bait?" Hua Yi was surprised. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered, and he asked secretly, "Do you think it's a bait?" Nonsense. The Tower Master of the Heaven Immortal Tower is the granddaughter of the Eastern Tomb Treasure Pavilion's Pavilion Master. This Pavilion Master is also our ally. How could she possibly set a trap to lure us? Hua Yi said. I hope it's nonsense. Qin Feiyang mumbled. During the conversation, the price had already soared to 500 million divine crystals. But what was worth mentioning was that no one in the VIP rooms on the top floor had spoken yet. Zhang Xiaoyang sighed, the real competition has yet to begin. The woman beside Qin Feiyang also nodded in agreement. Just as the price soared to 1 billion, there was finally some movement in the VIP rooms on the top floor. Why is it that every time, there are so many trash who don't know what's good for them coming to join in the fun? Young Master Li, please don't take offense. Think about it this way. If there weren't these trash, how could the strength of our 4 great clans be displayed? Young Master Mo's words are reasonable. In this world, only green leaves can set off the beauty of fresh flowers. Laughter filled with contempt echoed in the Heaven Immortal Tower and didn't dissipate for a long time. Hearing these words, the people below couldn't help but have a trace of anger in their eyes. Trash? Green leaves? Even if it was the 4 great clans, they couldn't humiliate others like this. So what if it's the 4 great clans? We, the top 10 on the heaven ranking, have never put you in our eyes. Don't say that I look down on you. You hedonistic sons can only show off in front of ordinary people. Another disdainful voice sounded. These people were the disciples of the heaven ranking. They indeed had the capital to look down on the 4 great clans. Perhaps their family background and power couldn't be compared to the 4 great clans, but in terms of talent, they could completely crush any youth in the Eastern Tomb. Damn! We haven't even targeted you and you're already targeting us? Are the disciples of the heaven ranking very powerful? You're just a bunch of poor people who rely on the heavenly cloud mountain to eat and drink. What are you if you want to leave the heavenly cloud mountain? You might be worse than a stray dog on the street. In terms of talent, we can't compare to you, but in terms of wealth, we can smash you to death. What are you so arrogant for? The 4 young masters weren't afraid at all and brazenly humiliated the disciples of the heaven ranking. At the same time, they vividly displayed their hedonistic nature. I'm rich. You can't earn as much money as I do in a few lifetimes. You can only be envious and jealous. Zhang Xiaoyang coldly looked at the VIP rooms and snorted. You're all trash. Seeing that the situation was getting worse, the steward hurriedly said with a smile, everyone, please don't forget the important matter. We're now auctioning the heavenly immortal wine. That's right, that's right. Let's get down to business. I almost lost my head because of these heaven-ranking paupers. I'll bid 1 billion. I'll bid 2 billion. I'll bid 3 billion. The 3 of you, don't give these heaven-ranking paupers a chance. Just bid 10 billion. A mere 10 billion is too much for us heaven-ranking disciples. 11 billion, 12 billion. A new round of competition began again. But this time, the people below were basically just supporting characters. No one spoke again. 2 sides. The hedonistic disciples side. The heaven-ranking disciples side. The competition was extremely fierce. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, each one is more prodigal than the other. Wrong. Zhang Xiaoyang shook his head. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang looked at Zhang Xiaoyang curiously. Zhang Xiaoyang said, these hedonistic disciples all have the support of their families behind them. The support of their families? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. The patriarchs of the 4 major families all want their sons to marry into the treasure pavilion. So, no matter how much they squander here, the 4 major families will fully support them. As for the heaven-ranking disciples of Tianyun Mountain, they have the same purpose. But in terms of financial resources, they really can't compete with the four major families. So, for a long time, the two sides have formed a deep grudge. In short, you look down on me, and I look down on you. Zhang Xiaoyang said. Qin Feiyang asked, what about your Zhang family? My Zhang family? Zhang Xiaoyang murmured and looked up at the corridor on the 6th floor. On the corridor, a young man in black stood with an arrogant face and two guards behind him. Qin Feiyang looked up and asked suspiciously, who is he? He's the young master of our Zhang family, Zhang Xiaofan. In front of the four major families, even he doesn't dare to interrupt, let alone me. Zhang Xiaoyang laughed self-deprecatingly. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. It seemed that this person's status in the Zhang family was not very high. Moreover, his relationship with the direct descendants of the Zhang family was not very good. Otherwise, he wouldn't be sitting opposite him now. Soon. The price of 10 bottles of fairy wine rose to 50 billion. This price is about right. In the past, the highest price of a bottle of fairy wine was 5 billion. But judging from their attitude, they will continue to compete. People whispered. 5 billion for a bottle of fairy wine? It's really more expensive than bejeweled nectar. Qin Feiyang was speechless. The price was raised by this group of people. Fairy wine is indeed good, but it's not worth 5 billion divine gems. Zhang Xiaoyang shook his head. Qin Feiyang looked at Zhang Xiaoyang in surprise. Finally, he met a more rational person. When the price soared to 60 billion, the heaven roll finally stopped. Why did the heaven roll paupers stop? Continue? I like to use money to humiliate you. Hurry up, hurry up. The four young masters clamored. We, the heaven roll disciples, rely on talent and strength to speak. You fools who only know how to eat and wait for death won't understand. The heaven roll disciples retorted. What are you pretending for? Don't you know that wealth equals strength? You're only at this level. Forget it, I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. Young Master Li, Young Master Mo, Young Master Wang, why don't you give it to me this time? I'll withdraw from the next competition. Young Master Yun said through the door. This, Young Master Li and the other two were a little hesitant. Young Master Yun said unhappily, we've been brothers for many years. Can't you agree to such a small request? Fine. I'll withdraw. But you have to remember that you owe me a favor today. Young Master Li said. Since you've said so, I'll withdraw too. Treat me to a drink later. Young Master Mo followed. Since Young Master Li and Young Master Mo have withdrawn, then I won't compete. Young Master Wang hesitated for a while and said with a smile. Thank you. Young Master Yun was overjoyed and said, Manager, announce the result. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.